back corner when I'm not presenting.
Listening in.
And listen in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Bass University Live here on Tuesday night.
Take a quick break. Watch John Cruz's on the Tokyo rig.
Be a part of the show. Get some chances to win some awesome prizes.
This Bass you go. You know, we didn't have that back then. And dude, it can just...
That text thread gives me so much energy. I mean, like I'm dialed.
Took forever, right? Rush hour traffic. But here's the cool part.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there at the pumps, and the guy sitting next to me goes, "Man, that's cool logos on that truck, dude." He goes, "Bass University." He goes, "Man, I'm totally into bass fishing. 3 years. I switched over saltwater. I'm loving bass fishing. I fish."
This is the gas attendant or somebody else?
No, it's just some dude getting gas next to me.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I fish Rainbow."
Oh, yeah.
And Elmer.
Yeah.
He gave up saltwater for rainbow.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's starting to catch them, and he was just telling me, I think he's fishing all around, and and get to know him that good. But he said the lakes in Jersey, that's what he fishes.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah. So
well, prayers go out to him.
So he's super psyched. He's watching. James, I'm gonna give a shout out to James. He said he's gonna watch tonight.
James.
And go over and check out Bass University
So
TV.
for guys that missed the intro, we had no sound there in the beginning because whatever. So yeah, so we had some technical problems that continued into the beginning of the show.
Oh, okay.
And if you missed it, Pete was low on gas when he ran out of the house.
Low on gas,
Stopped to get gas. Didn't have his wallet. Had to go home to get his wallet. And then he ran into James, who likes fishing South Jersey. Yep. So he ran into a crazy person and forgot his wallet.
Yes. All right. Well, there you have it. That's a way to start a show right there for sure. We do have a good show, despite all the early technical difficulties. We have a great show tonight, Pete.
Great guest tonight.
Great guest. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff. If you're watching tonight, listen, you're going to learn a lot. We're going to talk a little bit about late fall fishing.
Yeah.
We're going to generalize some stuff about that. Maybe even talk a little shad wrap a little later, a little tight wobble crankbait. But then we have a good guest coming on, Pete. Friend of the show, friend of ours, coming off his first year on tour, fishing the Bassmaster Opens. Oliver Ngy is going to be joining us. Can't wait to hear from Oliver. Again.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Big
it was
bait
great.
master.
We had Oliver in the studio with us live. He was here a year ago, maybe a little later, but almost a year ago. This
January.
January.
It was January 2021.
And we had him on, Bri, doing a mic check with him, and we were busting his balls saying, "You coming back?" And he's like, "No." No, I'm not.
Too cold.
No, I'm not coming back. I don't want anything to do with it. we got a good show tonight, Pete. We also got. Let me not forget our good friends. We have a couple of our homies out here in internet land. Who's with us out there? We got a couple guys out there.
We got Justin Kimmel.
Yeah, Justin.
And Alex.
Hey,
Hi.
Alex.
What's up?
There's our boys.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Alex.
man, I gotta say, I'm excited for tonight's show. A couple of things. A big swim bait, like the big ones, not like a 5-inch hollow belly like everybody used to call a big swim bait.
Those.
Like that has no place in my boat. As a student of the game, fishing, trying to become better, like, dude, that has no place in my boat, right? I wanted to, I tried to make it work for me, but it that's one of the rules of thumbs is don't throw something you're not at peace with. And I know, Ike, you've been kind of making some peace with that thing
I have.
lately, but like here in the fall, everybody's like, man, it's such a good time to throw a big swim bait. I know you caught a bag on it recently. Yeah. I'd rather throw this, that tiny spinner bait, little water slash, little tiny blades, because they eat the crap out of that in the fall.
Yeah.
But man, I'm excited because I know I have a hole in my game, and if anybody's like me, there's going to be a great conversation, and you have a big time, big fish hunter with the big baits who went out and competed against arguably the toughest tournament trail there is in the Bassmaster Opens.
Yep.
That's an argument for another day, but, and he got exposed, and I'm excited to hear some lessons. I'm sure he saw some things that nobody else did this year. So just excited for that conversation tonight. And I also got a great pros panel, and we'll talk about some instructors and classes and stuff tonight too. So looking forward to that.
Heck yeah, good show tonight. Pete, we'll remind everybody. I know you got the notes on it here, but listen, if you're watching and listening right now, stay tuned to the show. It's going to be a great show. You're going to learn a lot. Great show. But this isn't just a little tidbit of what you could get as a BU subscriber. If you're not already a subscriber, watch this show. If you like it, what a great time. Pete, what a great time.
It's best time.
With the holidays right here to subscribe to Bass Show. Isn't that a great time?
It's perfect time. It's not only do we have some of the best deals of the year this time of year, but it's great time because a lot of guys aren't fishing right now.
Watch tape. It's a great time to watch tape, bro. That's how you learn.
Get after it. You can learn a new technique like Justin just talking about. You got a hole in your game. You can improve it. We've got the content that's going to help you get there. And right now we have a cool 6-month subscription.
Ooh. We've
not done that before. But we're trying to make it accessible to everybody. But it's a cyber promotion we've got going on right now. And it's $49 for 6 months. Come over and check out Bass U. You want to dip your toe into it. Of course, we always have a free trial if you want to just come and check it out and see all the great stuff. Like James from the gas station. Get over there. Check out Bass U TV. Get yourself hooked up.
I always like to make this reference real quick. And what a great time to make it because we have Oliver coming on with these talking about these big baits. Pete, you said $49 for 6 months. Dude, $49 can't even buy you two baits, two jerk baits.
Maybe the tail of one.
The tail of one of Oliver's baits you can get for $49. Great value, great value. Definitely check it out. Pete, let's jump into a couple things. I'm gonna do a little catch up real quick before we get into it. Mike? Brian, what do you got?
Well,
I mentioned, and then Brian yelled at me for talking about it before the camera was on.
What's that?
I've been down in my barn shop the last 2 days, and I'm doing a major winter clean out, Brian Carver. I know you just got done doing a little bit of that yourself, Brian.
I'm not done.
You're still cleaning.
Forever.
But here's the thing I want
That's
to
a monumental task.
It's a
for
big
you.
task.
You have more than anybody.
Well, I don't
know
about that, but it's a big task. But here's what I wanted to say about it, which is normally I dread that time. But I got a little extra time on my hands. I've got this week here that's open, and I've got some time, and I got in there, and I'm literally taking everything down, opening it, repacking it, organizing it by style, size, color, and all that. But as I'm doing it, like I'm learning, and I'm remembering things that I forgot. I'm remembering things that, you know what I mean? Like I'm opening things, I'm like, oh God, I can use that in one of the elites. And I'm like thinking, and I'm like creating little subcategories of stuff that I'm pulling. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to use that on fork. Yes, I'm going to use that at Pickwick. Yes, I'm going. You know what I mean? It's been
What
a lot of
stands
fun.
What stands out? Is anything like an old school or something not made anymore?
Yeah, a lot not made. Especially I and this isn't a total sponsor plug, but I have a lot of Berkeley power bait stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I was able to find some really old stuff that's defunct now. Is that a word, Brian?
Yeah.
It's not in production anymore.
Is the flavor defunct?
Right. It's defunct.
No, is because some of them they get funky.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. I don't. It
Gotta
didn't
give
even
'em
open its bags. But
give 'em a taste.
I found power bait Nellies. You remember the Nelly?
No.
The
No.
nuclear Nelly?
No.
You don't remember that bait?
Oh, it was looking like a beaver.
Yeah, like a beaver.
Was that
And
the one McGraw designed?
Yeah, little Nelly, and
That's
it's
right.
got this very amazing shad-like profile in action on a scrounger head. I found
Yeah.
those,
Oh.
old school. Some Rapala colors, DT colors that I had in a box that I don't even know if they make anymore. That I was like, just stuff
Yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? And
That's
it
super
was
cool.
It's a great way to organize and remember, and it's sort of pumping me up. I know I'm 3 months away, but I'm getting pumped up here. man.
Well, one of my problems, and I want to know how you handle
Just
it,
one of them.
is distracted me. I almost said
Sorry.
something I shouldn't have. But I run into.
They got a pill for that.
I said, I get rust, right? You get corrosion. And some of this stuff.
Pete Rust.
I get rust.
Well, right. You get
Yeah.
you've got high dollar baits, sometimes
yeah.
custom stuff
Yeah.
that's not made anymore.
Yeah.
And what do you do? Do you put them aside and like address them all at
Yeah.
once, or
Well,
how do you handle?
Yeah, I can
that?
tell you this. So I definitely have crankbaits that I'm coming across,
Mm.
and I didn't get to. I have a junk box that has stuff just loose, and when I get to that, when I get to that, for sure, there's going to be individual plugs, things that I see that are full of rust, and when I know they're those special ones, I want to take care of them, and I want to
Yeah.
bring them back. Actually, one of the things I do, I learned from you, which is Magic Eraser,
Mm.
is
Mhm.
great.
What?
Magic Eraser is great on a plug, man.
Yeah.
On a
what?
hard-bodied lure.
Mhm.
So I'll have that. I've got some degreaser I use sometimes, and I'll spray them all with degreaser and try to help that way. But definitely, man, if there's, especially crankbaits, if there's
Yeah.
special ones,
Mhm.
I want them clean. I
Yeah.
want them fresh. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
I have boxes with intent to go clean them.
Intent.
Intent.
Yeah.
It never seem to get to them.
Yeah.
You know, you got a wad of them, and you look in there, and
Yeah.
there's one of Pete's Quiet Killers, 2
Oh,
or 3 of them
yeah.
in there, and
Yeah.
you know some of their shots.
Yeah.
You know some of the
Shot,
stuff that
shot,
you
shot.
just don't.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
they're
one.
hiding in these wads,
Yeah.
but you got to cut the rusted hooks off, and you're like, this winter I'm gonna do it. This winter never seems to come.
Yeah, I know. Well, the hardest thing for me is I am definitely a hoarder.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm going through all this, I'm also trying to, like say to myself, I'm talking to myself the whole time I'm out there cleaning. I'm saying,
Self.
all right, am I ever really going to use this again? And there is stuff I'm culling.
Yeah.
There are items I'm culling
Yeah.
that are going to be donated to the Ike Foundation, and they'll be brought to a flea market this spring and sold, and all that money will go back to getting kids fishing. So,
Yep. Yep.
but it's hard for me to chuck
What are you
stuff.
kicking to the curb?
I got some. I'll be honest. I'll just be honest. There's some Storm products that I've messed with over the years that I'm gonna turn back over. Not that they don't work, but I'm
You
trying.
can't
to
throw everything.
I can't throw everything. I'm trying to streamline a little bit. There's some Berkeley stuff in colors that are just colors that again I'm trying to streamline a little.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, and this is the first time I'm talking about it, but I'll tell you. So I'm streamlining because I really need to, but I'm streamlining because my Toyota Tundra, I'm going to be in a brand new Toyota Tundra. This is 2022. This first one that I'm getting is not one that I selected. It's that there's, with everything going on in the world, it's hard to get anything right now.
Right.
So you got a Camry.
I got a crew cab. I got a crew cab with a 6.5 foot bed, which is a pretty standard sized bed.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
But I always order that big giant one like you got. That giant long.
8?
Yeah.
Your Toyota has an 8?
I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure it does.
talk
Or
about-
if it doesn't, it's got the smaller cab, which gives you more bed space.
Okay.
So this has got a little less
Yeah.
Okay.
bed space. So
I got
I'm having a
You
streamline.
got to cut down.
I'm
6
having
and a
a
half.
streamline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't put a rod in there.
It's small.
Before you go to the flea market, we should have like an in-house.
Yeah.
You might make more money, you know.
It's a good possibility.
Yeah.
It's a good
I
possibility.
found the more tackle I get, the less fish I catch.
That's true.
That's really the what I've come to realize this year.
Yeah.
I'm messing around way too much.
Yeah, I know. Well, if you've watched some of the Bassmaster stuff on Bassmaster.com, Brian, we talked about this.
Yep.
Craig Lamb actually did a really great piece on the lures. He broke it down by lure category, what succeeded at the elites, and then I think they also did one at the opens more recently too. But it was interesting because when they broke this list down, it was the same 6 or 8 categories. It was nothing like ground. Yeah, it was nothing groundbreaking. There was no groundbreaking colors or, you know what I mean? It was like jig was still right up there at the top with a crankbait and a chatterbait. And, you know, it was like the same stuff. And when you dug into it further, it was black and blue and green pumpkin and white. You know, it's like, so when you hear it, when you see it, you know, it's hard to deny that because that's evidence of, you know, here's another year. Things are, you know, there's all this new stuff, but at the end of the day, it's the same, you know, 8 things that have really dominated.
And
you know,
and that's key. And I think each angler has to dial that in on how they're catching them.
Yeah.
I saw Matt Panrek, shout out to BTL. He had a pie chart. I guess I saw it somewhere where he wrote down all the fish that he caught during his open experience this year, and but it was a surprise to me. But like overwhelmingly, the drop shot dominated.
I read that
his catch, which was, you know, a surprise to me. But that's in a lot of people's wheelhouse as their strength. And he's identified that. That was plain as day.
Yeah.
That's what he needs to be throwing.
Yeah.
To be consistent. So
So I heard about the Elite Series this year. I know what the number 1 lure supposedly was. At least was told to me, and number 2, and it made me think, man, Pete, you might need to get back out there, man. But apparently the jig really shined on the Elite Series this year. Yeah. Was the number 1 for top 10 finishes, and a wacky rig was second.
Wow.
Wow. That's interesting.
Very interesting.
So basic. Well, you know, it's kind of like high percentage fishing, right? It's like you got a stump, you have a fish on that stump.
Yeah.
It really comes down to how do you want to catch them.
Right.
What's the highest percentage tool that you use to catch that fish, you know?
Yeah.
Single hook bait.
Yeah. It's a fight that my mind wrestles with all the time, you know, because I also read recently somewhere, I think it was an article from Patrick Walters that talked about how he sounds like me, right, where he wants everything in the boat. He wants, you know, his boat runs 63 because, you know, because it's an off-brand boat. Yeah. But more importantly, because he's got it. I know it is harsh. I don't care. More importantly, because he has it loaded with stuff. And I'm that dude. I've been like that forever. So I think there's a strength in that. But then a guy like Ish, who told me, you ready for this? I had a conversation with him about 3 weeks ago. He had no tackle in his truck this year. Zero.
Wow.
Everything he used.
Because he had a bed in the back.
No, he didn't.
Mattress.
Everything he used this year, Brian, was in his boat. He worked out of his boat with very little. Yep. He said his boats never run faster. I don't think he had 20 rods in the boat the whole year. Like, so there's that angle, and a lot of guys that have done that over the years, which have you know, streamlining, you know, getting basic. So my goal is to find that happy medium, Pete, between the two, right? Because I think for sure there are times when too much stuff hurts you, right? You know, you're wrestling with this mound of stuff and rods and 40 rods and tackle and what about, you know, if you're spending your time worried about the fish, right?
Instead
and
of what you could be casting. Instead of
Yeah, like
that's what I do.
Put the things on your deck that are catching them, and worry about the fish.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that all being said, don't change anything you're doing.
No,
you're all right.
No, I know.
Heck of a
You're doing pretty good.
No, I'm doing all right.
You know?
Me, on the other hand.
Shout out to Tackle Warehouse, by the way. If you're watching this tonight, you want more stuff, go over there, man. Go through BU
Yep.
if you can.
Absolutely. And they've got a bunch of they have their 25 days of Christmas going on
That's awesome.
over at TW. We got a lot of great benefits also over here. Just talked with the folks of Rapala. We love them, and we've got for all you guys that subscribe, we've got a benefits package that just is crazy good, and it starts right here at Rapala Storm VMC. 50% off those baits. You can go take advantage of that. We also have 40% off Flambeau, 30% off missile baits, cash and rods, Gills gear. We have 25% off. All this stuff is available over at the Pro Members Offers over on the right-hand column of the website, bashu.tv. Not to mention over 900, Brian, we got to change this, over 900 instructional
Closing in on
tutorials.
1,000, Pete. If I
Closing.
recall, click, click.
Click, click.
Yes,
Closing in.
We might
and the production quality on every one of them is 10 times the live show because I'm not involved.
And we get 10% off MikeIaconelli.com.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you have the new AFCO stuff over there?
I do have it over there. Yeah. So here's the deal, though. As you were mentioning all this, and it's a giant list. It goes on and on. Dude, it pays for itself instantly, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling
Like,
you.
become a subscriber. You're going to learn a ton. You're going to become a better angler.
If you're not,
But
I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, look at these percents off, Pete. It pays for itself.
It does.
You buy like 3 things and it pays for itself.
It pays for itself on the first purchase. And,
crazy.
And check it out. If you're a subscriber to Bashu TV, Oliver is got some tremendous prize
Bingo.
packs.
Yeah, we got a lot of
We're
prize
going to be
packs.
giving away to our subscribers.
To subscribers.
With giant swim baits.
Yes.
We have a grand prize collection, as well as big bass or big dreams.
Big
bass dreams. I'm sorry, man.
Big bass be dreaming.
Yep. We've got a hat and a shirt and one of his signature swim baits.
The
and-
Defiant.
the Defiant.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
210,
bad John, dude.
Yep.
Mhm.
As well as a collection of other baits for the grand
Yeah,
prize.
it's a
So-
$200 value on the grand prize. Gancraft, Mega Bass, Nashine. You guys got the list over
Nashine.
there? I ran out of ink.
Yeah. Nashine, 13 Fishing,
Nichols.
Nichols, Bass Tricks,
Yes.
all in there.
All
man.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And the $130 package, $200. Sign
Yeah.
up for free, win that stuff, learn how to catch them.
There you have it.
Absolutely.
There you have it. I want to change topics a little bit. We're going to get to Oliver here in a second, but I want to talk about what's relative right now, what's going on in the country here, Pete, and we are in what I would call late fall right now. This is the late fall period, right? Little late fall fishing going on, and I want to dive into that a little bit, Pete. Up here in the Northeast, want to let you know out on the Delaware River with our homeboy Rizzo. Shout out to Riz. He's in Fort Lauderdale with his lady right now, probably naked on a beach somewhere, drunk.
Spending all his winnings?
Yes, spending all
From
the
the
winnings
Delaware?
from the Delaware. But we're talking about low 40-degree water temperature
Wow.
around here. Very common now in the lakes and rivers and reservoirs
It
in
got
the
cold
Northeast here.
fast.
Got cold fast. So we're talking about mid to low 40s. North of that, we're in the high 30s already. I just saw a report from Texas that said Sam Rayburn and Toledo temperatures were in the 60s. But even there, that's a big difference, big drop from what those summertime temperatures were. So we're in the heat of fall fishing here, Pete. And I just want to. We've got a great panel here tonight, and I want to go around the room first of all and just survey everybody. Maybe we start with Brian the Carpenter over here. Brian the Carpenter.
Yes,
This time of the year, you like fishing this time of the year.
it's my favorite.
Talk to me. Give me a bait that's high on your priority list for fall fishing.
Well,
Late fall.
late fall, certainly a jig. Jig always got some.
Jig.
You know, when they stop biting the jig and start downsizing to the Ned rig or the little Mo Licky, little 3-inch crawl on a light head.
Yeah.
Love the shad wrap in the fall. You know, earlier the spinner bait's good.
Yeah.
You know, when they're
Yeah.
still moving.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Pete, I got a little theory.
Uh-oh.
I want to run it past you.
Talk.
You might think I'm ridiculous, but this is my theory.
Pretty ridiculous.
It goes a little something like this. When
Drop a
those
beat.
when those fish are in that height of the fall feed, right? When they're in that fall period where they're eating like gangbusters, right? They're so focused on bait. They are bait oriented. I shy away from a jig during that period. But when that water starts cooling off and getting colder and colder, Brian the Carpenter mentioned a jig. He's coming off a win with a jig a week ago.
Yeah.
I believe that jig bite gets better in the late fall because bass are smart enough to know, and what they're doing is they're changing their diet
Going back.
from bait back to crawl. I really believe that. I'm a big believer in that, man. And I can see where, you know, like Justin held up in the beginning of the show, a little tiny Mullix spinnerbait with little blades.
Yeah.
And, man, when they're in that fall feed and the bait's all piled up in the backs of the creeks and the pockets and the flats, you know the deal. Dude, I'm throwing stuff that looks like bait, right? Shad-oriented stuff. But when that fall feed, when that active, you know, they're eating, when that goes away and it starts getting into the mid-low 40s,
For us,
40 degrees, I get away from that.
Yeah.
And I go down and slow and low, and I'm more imitating crustaceans and crawls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think they're smart enough that they're changing their diet as it gets colder. I really believe that.
I you know, it's an interesting concept because it's body of water specific.
It
like
can be.
Something that's interesting about the body of water that you just fished, it's odd that those fish will bite those types of baits almost to 30 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Where other places, when it gets down into the 40s, you have to get reactionary with blades, with spoons, with, you know, those types of baits. They won't bite it.
Right.
They just will not bite a jig or any type of bait like that when it gets real, real cold. But that place definitely does, and a lot of other places do. What was the water temperature when you caught them on a jig, Brian, on the lake you fished?
48.
48, upper 40s.
Yeah.
I found that what I have found, no matter the body of water, Mike, is when the water temperature gets to a certain degree, and a lot of people listening might never see 40 degrees.
True.
Wish we fished there.
Yeah.
But when it gets to a certain point, the bite changes.
Right.
Like you said, it'll go from that crankbait, spinnerbait bite to it changed. And in that, but that's a great theory. I think in a lot of the places that you fished, those fish will feed on whatever's available to them,
right.
You know, in those places.
Yeah, at the end of the day, food is food. Yeah. But I think they definitely key in on bait when it's at active fall feed. And then when that bait becomes more unavailable, right, I think they shift their feeding habits.
Yeah.
You know, I really do.
So you guys caught them on a jig?
We caught them on a jig. We caught them on a Ned. We sure did. We caught them on all bottom bouncing baits.
Okay.
We're ineffective on moving reaction style lures. I actually caught one on an OG Slim that didn't help, but all the rest was bottom. You know, and it's so telltale. Like you've heard me say this before in other seminars, but if you're watching, listen to me. This is mark this one, Bri. Mark this one here, right here.
Alex, mark it.
Alex, mark this one. No, that one. When you catch a fish, but especially this time of the year, Pete, when you catch a fish, dude, look at that fish. Scope that fish out. Scope him out. I'm talking about opening his mouth, you know, looking is he regurgitating something? But look at his belly. A lot of these fish we caught in the Delaware had mud on their belly.
Already.
I am not kidding you, dude. Like, looking at the fish, I look at him like, holy shit, what is that? And, like, I could get my finger and just rub the mud right off that white belly.
Yeah.
It instantly tells you what those fish are doing. You know what I mean? There's no guesswork. Fish is laying on the bottom, dude. He's laying on the bottom. So bottom baits were effective. You know what I mean? But look at that fish, man. That fish is going to tell you a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, then the tail sticking out of the mouth will tell you if they're eating shad.
Yep.
I know our boy, shout out to Jeff, who's down on Lake Hartwell right now, is experiencing what you would call, to us, early fall, where the shad are just ganged up.
Packing in his creek.
Packing in and catching them on all moving baits.
Wow.
And they're just, just loaded in there. The images that we're going to be producing for Bass U TV are just phenomenal. And the health of Lake Hartwell is just incredible. And I know, JK, it's one of your favorite lakes. How do you we got this going on. When is that going to change down on Lake Hartwell from what Mike's talking about when those shads start to dissipate? What's the next thing that's going to happen on Lake Hartwell?
Well, Peter,
Have we lost Justin?
yeah, he dipped out.
We'll table that to the next time.
A big mop jig would be my guess. Big giant mop jig.
Yeah.
Real quick, Brian, I know you want to get to a break, but I did want to talk about one other thing. And we mentioned, I heard shad wrap. I think Brian said shad wrap. And I do want to talk about that because I see a lot of questions come to us through Bash U and also through my site asking about what's the right crankbait in this period, right? So now, we're talking about, I consider this late fall. Pete, you know crankbait fishing better than anybody I know. For that guy that's watching that doesn't know a little bit, what's the right crankbait for the fall? That's the question. What's the right crankbait?
Man, I tell you this, it's hard to beat a wiggle wart.
Wiggle wart.
And it's one of my faves, and it can be so effective around the type of habitat that you're going to fish this time of year, which is rock. You're going to spend a lot of time around the hard cover, and it deflects so well, and it runs at that depth zone that is such a good depth this time of year. But it's odd because it has a wider wobble, but it's a good cold water crankbait. We see it in the springtime.
Yeah.
But couple colors, you want a crawl color, a shad color, and a chartreuse color. Those three colors will get you through just about any situation. I've taken guys that have never fished a crankbait before. Jeff is one of them, and he just clobbers them on a wiggle wart just about everywhere he goes. But that is a good all-around crankbait,
I like
for this time of year.
I like it. I do like the shad wrap. I think shad wrap's a great one. I think the colder it gets, the better that shad wrap gets.
Yeah, I mean, what temperatures you talking about with that alleged wiggle wart?
Alleged.
Well, it's funny because when I was down in the 50s, and the last time I went fishing, because I haven't been out since we dipped into the 40s, and when I was in the 50s, we were, that was the deal.
I can see that. Yeah.
It was all about low 50s. It was all about cranking and deflection. We were getting them around here, getting them on crankbaits and jigs was the primary weapons for me. But I know a lot of the places. It's once you get down into the 40s, it changes for me.
Yeah, shad wraps is a 40s. Crankbait.
Yeah,
that's a mid 40s crankbait.
Definitely.
Everything changes in the 40s.
Yeah. Yeah. Holla. Vision goes. Everything. Everything just.
What else? What else
Sex
goes?
drive.
What's your best fall crankbait, Mike?
I would say I would put the DT series. The OG Slim is another one that I love when it gets cold in the shad wrap. I think those three for me cover the spectrum of that colder water period. The shad wrap I love, but it's a tricky bait because of the weight of it. And it makes fishing it interesting. Because a lot of times I'm fishing at 5 or 7 bry. And it's a spinning rod bait for sure, So it's
that one is
it's hard to cast. But the DT and the OG Slim are both good tight wobble crankbaits. They're both balsa baits. I like them both.
Yeah, but you're not throwing a shad wrap to deflect. That's more of a grind on some gravel or kind of open water and suspend bait.
Agreed.
It's a different deal.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah,
and no good around the wood.
It's no good around wood.
Ew.
It's terrible around
Don't you
wood.
do it.
Yeah, it's the worst.
I warned you.
Yeah, that's terrible. You want to take some questions? You want to do a break? What do you think?
Alex?
Because I know. What
Alex
do you
Trebek?
We got a few things to talk about. I know you brought something up that was interesting to me about Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, that is a great topic.
That's
fantastic.
And I just skimmed it. They wouldn't let me read it because they wanted to drop the bomb here on the show, but apparently there's something going on with the limit restrictions over in Oklahoma.
If you're watching this right now, listen to me. I'm going to read this directly from the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. This is the actual press release they put out. I'll give it to you word for word.
proposed
Right.
changes for 2022.
Yep. This year, Wildlife Department Fisheries proposed rule change that would allow anglers to keep smaller, more abundant largemouth and smallmouth. The proposal aims to remove the current 14-inch minimum length from lakes and reservoirs in all of Oklahoma and would allow anglers only to keep one bass greater than 16 inches per day. If approved, biologists anticipate positive impact on the overall quality of Oklahoma's black bass population. Pete,
So-
that's a big thing.
So
here.
I was messaging with a guy on Instagram this morning that I'm kind of scoping out for a possible upcoming guest. He's
Yeah.
His account's aquatic biologist. He's an expert on farm ponds,
Okay.
on how to raise trophy bass on farm ponds.
Yeah.
You know, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just reading his daily post.
Yeah.
You know, and I won't get into all that, but he shared that with me this morning. He says,
Yeah.
"Oh, look what I just saw," and it's to the effect of trying to cut down on all the little bass.
Right.
You know, which will stun a lake.
Yeah.
You know, so it's by the way, those proposals for keeping a bass, you know, there's an amendment in there for tournament anglers for catch and release.
Right. So the
exempt you
tournaments
from
would
that.
get an exemption form.
Right, and
like,
I believe
like
you'd
they
have to
do in
get like
Florida.
a card for that or
Yeah.
something. But you know, it's to minimize people taking the big ones.
Yeah.
Only keep 1 over 16, but more fish, more smaller fish. Get the
Very
smaller
strange.
ones out of the lakes.
Yeah, very strange. Pete, what do you think about that?
I've never seen anybody keep a bass in the last 5 years. You know?
Yeah.
Have you?
Not here, but we live in a part of the country where they don't. You
Right.
know, I
Yeah.
think in the South, I think keeping bass happens a lot. Texas and Louisiana for sure,
Right.
100%. But probably
Because they don't have McDonald's down there.
right. Probably stems to Oklahoma as well. you
Yeah.
know?
Well, you're allowed to keep 1 over 16.
Yeah.
So they're wanting to keep the small fish.
They
Yeah.
want you to get the smaller fish out of the lake.
Yes.
Because it'll
Wait,
stunt your lake.
They said you're only allowed to keep 1 over 16, but you can keep unlimited under 16.
Mike's got the statistics
I
there.
don't
I
have all
forget.
that.
Okay, I was confused. I thought
I
that
don't think it's unlimited.
they limited it to 1 fish over 16 inches, and that was it.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you were saying. Well, that being said, while you're hunting that down, I heard some kind of scary news about Lake Gaston over on the forum on Bass U. Spotted bass have infiltrated Lake Gaston, and according to this guy on the forum, that taking over the lake. He fishes like 200 days a year. He's catching tremendous amounts of spots.
Does he have a job?
And I guess he's retired. He bought Bitcoin. He's good.
I'm jealous.
But he's fishing every day, and catching nothing but spots, nothing but small spots, and only 1 over 4 pound largemouth this year.
Ooh.
Jeez.
So
And he fished 200 days?
200 days.
Jeez.
Very avid angler. But they're seeing that. I heard that on other North Carolina lakes, and the DNR in North Carolina was an advocate of catching and killing all the spots you could.
That's what they do at Norman. They're
Yeah.
advocating that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's interesting. Spots will overrun a lake, and it looks like they're overrunning Gaston,
It's
man.
crazy.
One of our faves. I hope. If they're there, they're gonna be at Kerr Reservoir as well.
It's crazy. Now, and Brian, I know you befriended this biologist, and we're talking about all this management theories and all this stuff. But I got to tell you, my theory is just to go to a lake, catch as many 3 to 5 pounders as you can. Often I put 5 or 6 people in my boat, and I like to just tow them back and dump them in my own lake. So that's my own management philosophy. Just to let you know.
How's that going for you?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's working out pretty good.
Have you got any spotted bass?
No spotted
stay?
fish. I was really tempted to tow one back, and then I last minute decided not to. So
I hear the smallmouth in this lake.
Alex, what do you got for
Florida
us?
strain in here. What are you talking about?
Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of people on the YouTube and the message board, guys. We appreciate you all tuning in, but we do have a really good question, and this one came in from Bruce, and Bruce is gonna get a fitting prize for his question. So, Bruce, you're gonna win a $25 Gills Gear gift card for your question,
All right.
and that's fitting like I mentioned, because his question is about clothing. So what Bruce wants to know is, Mike, Pete, what do you guys do to stay warm in those winter months when you're out there? Your fingers are freezing, your toes are cold. What do you guys do to stay warm while you're out there fishing in the
Yes,
winter
good
time?
question.
Pete already said he stays at home.
Bruce. Pete stays at home. Let
Pete
me
stays
answer
home.
this one because I actually fish in the winter.
Somebody's got to do the work.
That's right. It's a great question, Bruce. I want to answer it in multi ways here real quick. The first one is I really, if you're not a subscriber to my channel, go over to my YouTube channel, Mike Iaconelli Fishing, and subscribe to it. I did a whole video on this, Pete.
I saw it.
But it's layers. Layering is key. But let me start by saying before you even get to the layers, and I stole this from somebody back in the day when we traveled. I don't even remember who it was, one of the guys we knew on tour. The heating pads that you buy at CVS, they're back warmers, right?
Yeah.
They're
That was
thermic. Oh,
that
dude.
that was Melinda Mize.
It might have been Melinda Mize.
Yep.
Thermacare makes them, the CVS brand, Walgreens brand, whatever. They make them. It Velcros around you. Put that on your back. It warms your core. Also, the heating warmers for your toes and hands. So I use the ones that go along the entire insole of your boot, not the little crappy toe ones, but they're actually shaped like the whole foot. They're good, and then hand warmers. So the chemical warmers, and then build layers. That's my big thing is layers and seals. So, thermal underwear, a pair of socks, thermal underwear, top and bottom, another pair of socks that goes over the socks that are underneath, creating a seal at your pant leg, then a long sleeve shirt tucked into your regular pants that you put on over your thermals.
Right.
Seal it. A sweatshirt, have everything create a seal, and then that outer suit is really key. So I'm sure Gills makes a great one. AFCO makes one called a Hydronaut that I just used on the Delaware with Rizzo. That outer suit's key.
Yeah.
Gore-Tex is key.
And Pete, take a leak before you get
take a
putting all
leak
them
before
layers
you
on.
put all those layers on. Absolutely. But that's my system, Pete, and I love it. It's a great system for me,
The only thing I do different, and it's when it gets extreme.
Yeah.
Because this limits your mobility, and that's the downside.
Yeah.
You got all these layers on. You're already limited, but man, oh man, I got the Ice Force stuff, the ice gear.
That's good stuff
from Rapala.
Yeah.
It's available over on our site, or go over there and get the discount and get that stuff. Because I'm telling you, when it's extreme, it's like low 40s, spritzing rain, wind. It's like the worst possible conditions.
Yeah.
You're not cold. You're just not cold.
Yeah.
That stuff is
great suit.
so good,
It's a good suit.
at keeping you warm.
Yeah.
It's a little, you can't run like Mike does to the back of the outboard as easily when you're landing a fish, but you're not cold. Because here's the thing. This is the bottom line rule: a cold angler catches no fish.
That's
or
true.
even worse, gets the net stuck in his partner's rod. I fished a Delaware River tournament with Rich, I don't know, last year or the year before.
4-pounder.
We made a long run up the river, like 15 miles, come off pad. It's freezing cold, 30-degree air or something, 36-degree air. We come off pad, and jumps up, and he gets bit on the first cast. And I'm still getting up, dressed like the Michelin Man. Didn't even get half the gear.
Christmas story.
Yeah, there's running at 60 mile an hour gear, and then there's casting. So I had to take off a jacket and a glove. Didn't get that far. He's already hooked up. I jump up, I grab the net, and it's a giant. Hits the boat like a 4-pounder. It was a giant on the Delaware, and I don't know what happened, but somehow the net was in the rod. Rich came together.
Yeah. Rich,
We still don't know how it happened.
Rich, as we speak right now, is walking away from the show because he can't hear this story.
That was the last time he asked me to fish with him.
He hates it. He's going to become a saltwater angler now because he just heard that again.
You know what else I do in the real cold is I like thin gloves. Like I find that one hand you need a heavy glove, and the other one you want a lighter glove. Like the hand that's going to hold the reel is where I use my heavy glove because it gets cold. The graphite conducts the heat, the cold worse, but your reel does. It gets so cold. So you have the bigger glove there, and you have the lighter glove for casting and reeling, and just keep a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like it'll get wet.
Yeah.
It'll get wet, and you just in the box, grab another
Throw it in the
glove.
lake.
Yep. Just keep going with a fresh glove.
Yeah, and
you know?
another little tip, Pete, to add to that is your bag of spare gloves, you put in a Ziploc and throw one of those chemical hand warmers in there too, and it keeps them warm.
That's sexy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That might be the tip of the night
I
right
use
there.
that one. Yeah, mark it. Alex marked that one too.
That
Sure thing.
and the back things because I end up cramping up from. I got problems.
Yeah. What else we got coming in?
What'd you do?
Absolutely. So, go ahead, Pete.
I'm sorry. Did you guys deal with ice in your rods?
We didn't. We didn't have any
wasn't
ice
that
issues.
cold?
No,
Okay.
no. It was. I guess it was above the freezing mark, so we didn't deal with it. Had we dealt with it, I still have the spray with me, real snot. Yeah, still have real snot with me in my
Yeah.
boat. I carry it this time of year.
I do too.
Yeah. And it's good stuff. Spray the guys. Done.
What's next, Alex?
Absolutely. So I'm sure you guys knew this question was coming. You start talking cold water, you start talking wintertime fishing. Somebody's going to ask an A-rig question. So Danny S wants to know from you guys, when are you pulling out the A-rig? What temperature? What are you looking for? What do you guys hope to see when you go out for a good day of A-rig fishing?
Yeah, what a great question. Just to mention, and hopefully I'm throwing a lot of people under the bus here when I say this. The Davis Mill Winter League on Saturday was won with an Alabama rig, Pete.
Is that right?
That's right.
Chris
It was.
Delfonso.
Chris Delfonso and his partner. Chris, I don't know if Chris caught any, but
Do you know the weight that lake puts out some
10
nice.
and a half pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've
Which
seen some
that
big
is
pound
the
average.
first time in about
Yeah.
8 tournaments
2 pound average, yeah.
that they broke 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Jersey Winter League.
It was good. For me, that Alabama rig, and I got to witness the effectiveness of it. A few trips I had. One that sticks in my mind is I fished with Britt Myers on Lake Wiley on the North Carolina South Carolina border.
Right.
On Lake Wiley. Pete, you could not catch them on anything else except the Alabama rig.
Yeah.
It was that specific. And what I can tell you is that water temperature at the time was in the high to mid 40s down there. And what I saw in the graph gave it away. And this is my answer to this story, which was when we were fishing these areas, they were sort of the last deep water spot before it broke into the main lake in front of pockets and creeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the last deep water before you got into the main lake. And when you would look at the graph, there was bait suspended everywhere in the graph, right? So if we were in 20, you looked at the graph, bait was sitting at 10. If we were in 30, bait was sitting at 15. Like it was always about in the middle of the water column, that bait. And when I see suspended bait in that cold water situation, that Alabama rig, definitely my light bulb goes off for
Right.
that. The other thing I want to throw out there, I also learned that this day with Britt, is that a big misconception out there that when you say Alabama rig, you mean that big one that Paul Elias made famous, right?
Right.
You know, big head,
Mhm.
big wires, 3/8 half-ounce jig heads with 4.3, 4.8 swim baits, right?
Yep.
The day that I fished with Britt, I was amazed at how a small Alabama rig can be even more effective. And he fished one by a company called Shane's. It was called the Mini Blades of Glory.
Mm-hmm.
And he fished, you ready for this? 5 16th-ounce heads, darter heads, with 2.8s on them.
Right.
And I loved it because you could have more control. You were like more methodical. You didn't need a tuna rod to throw it. You could throw it on basically like a flipping stick, like a 7.5-foot rod, and it just fished a lot easier. But it also did match the size of the forage we were fishing that day. A lot of that bait was small, so it made sense. But I look for water below 50 degrees. When I see bait and fish suspended in the water column, Alabama rig is an option for me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still learning, honestly. I have had some great experiences with the A-rig, and I'm still trying. It's still a hole in my game.
Yeah.
I've experimented with little, big, giant ones. I've caught fish with them. I've caught them in the pre-spawn pretty effectively in some places, but there's content on Bass University about umbrella rigs, A-rigs, and
Crab traps.
Yeah, go check that out. But that's a great question, and I'm surprised we don't hear about it more. Because in like the MLF, in a lot of the tournaments in the BFLs, like they're allowed
You
to
can
fish
use 'em.
those.
You can use them.
And
yeah.
I'm always surprised we don't hear about it more. But that's a great question.
It's a good question. I want to throw one last little thing to that question real quick, which is the other thing that I've noticed on Alabama rigs, whether you're fishing that small one or big one, have your middle bait, the middle bait on the longest wire, dead middle, be a slightly different color than the other baits. I'm telling you, whatever that is, I always want that middle bait, that long bait in the middle, to be a little bit different color, just slightly different.
They call that one the master.
The master. I want the master to be a little different color, a little brighter, little char on the tail, a little something to make that one stand out. It's a good little tip.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Who asked that question, Alex?
That was Danny S. coming in on the message board, Pete.
Danny.
Danny get a gift card or something, maybe?
Yeah.
I think Danny's going to get a Aquaview hoodie. So, Danny, if you want to send in your subscriber number, maybe send us your size. We'll get one of those out to you.
Damn.
They make a great hoodie.
That is a great
They
hoodie.
do.
Yeah.
That's soft, man.
It is.
Like a lamb.
Brian Carpenter, 8 o'clock. You want to take a little break?
Yeah.
And I want to get back because I'm anxious, Pete, because I really want to get Oliver on the phone. We got so much to talk to him about, not only his first season on tour, but also this big bait thing, especially, Brian, how it falls into where we're at. I think a lot of people assume a big bait goes away when the water gets cold, but I want to say that is incorrect. False. That is false, and we want to talk to Oliver about that. You want to take a little break, Pete? What do you think?
Let's take a break.
All right. Hang in there with us. We got a lot of show left. When we come back, more BU Live. But don't.
Aquaview, the leader in underwater viewing technology. Find what you are looking for. Catch more fish. Have more fun. Aquaview. Seeing is believing.
Why do you love casting fishing rods?
I'm truly losing less fish.
Is the sensitivity of the rod.
That they're made right here in North Carolina in the USA.
Strongest, lightest rod, 100% made here in Sanford, North Carolina.
From the drop shot rod to the flipping stick. Every rod has a purpose to it, and I rely on them all the time when I'm out there in a tournament.
Durability in the John Cruz Worming series, the counterbalancing in the handle.
It's the only rod I found that can withstand my hook set. Boom goes the dynamite.
We're different. Some would say obsessed. There's no place on earth we'd rather be than right here, right now. Performance-driven gear, so you can fish longer, harder. Gill's Performance Fishing.
2021 Red Crest champion Dustin Connell here, and if you watch live coverage, we just got done at Lake Eufaula. I caught my fish using the active target with Lowrance. What you didn't see is I run a C-Clear power harness in my boat. One of the main advantages to running this harness is it does not drain my batteries down at all running my 4 units. And what that's going to allow me to do is I'm able to see my bait at 8 a.m. just as good late in the day. Y'all check them out at cclearpower.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you're having a great Tuesday night. I hope you're having a lot of fun. Hope you're learning a lot watching the show. I know we are. Welcome back to Bash U Live tonight, Pete. We're having a great show already. We're talking a little fall fishing, talking a little bit about some reorg going on this time of the year. And also we mentioned what a great time to learn. Give us that analogy, Pete, real quick about other sports, right? They get better. They watch tape. They review. We could do the same thing in fishing, right? It's no different.
Absolutely. This is the time. This is the time when you do your reviews and you pick up new techniques or something that you have. For me, like we were just talking about the umbrella rig, I continue to try to learn and develop this and put this into my arsenal. But this is the time to do it, and it's it's never an easier time to do it than right now with our cyber promotions going on. It's $49 for a 6-month subscription, and it gives you access to everything Bash U, our over 900 instructional videos, and all of our tremendous discounts at Flambeau, at Missile, at Rapala, all the Rapala brands, and many, many other things. So, so get over there, get yourself subscribed. Stop what you're doing right now, get subscribed, because guess what? We haven't given away the big prizes yet.
Oh.
That's right. What does that mean? That means so if somebody's watching and they're not a subscriber and they're like, holy shit, I love this. I need to have this. They subscribe. They're entered in a chance. How's this work?
Well, we're going to have a trivia question.
Okay.
Oh, well, I don't know, Brian. How are we going to be giving away these prizes? Did you decide? Usually,
Thanks for asking, Peter.
Usually, Brian has a trivia question.
Thanks, Pete.
We will base it off of content from tonight's show.
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah, we have 2 mega prizes thanks to Oliver.
Yes.
Oliver and friends.
Oliver and friends. Okay.
Thank you for that detailed description.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was detailed. It's very detailed.
One's about $130 value, and the grand prize is over $200.
$200,000.
Full of giant swim baits.
I want the one with the Defiant in it. That's the prize package I want. I want that 210. That's what I want.
I want the 210.
I want the 210. Give me the 210. Show me the 210. 210. How to throw that last 210?
Give me the 210.
210. Brian, I think we've got Oliver on the line here. I want to introduce him, man. He is all around good dude.
Great guy.
Good dude.
Easy
good
to know.
friend.
Yeah.
Brian has all these notes here. I'll mention a few, but I have my own notes. Big bait enthusiast, Big Bass Dreams founder, content creator, tournament angler, dog owner.
Yes.
Dog owner is a good one to throw in there. But the big thing I want to say is that Oliver has changed the culture, and he's getting new people involved in fishing, and that means a lot, and we really appreciate that. Joining us now live on BU for like the 2nd or 3rd or 4th or 5th time, Oliver Ngy.
Yeah.
Yes. Woo. What's up, man?
Oh, hold on.
Oh, no sound.
I can't.
Shocker.
Well,
Do we have any sound?
We working?
Hey, there he is.
Oh, whatever. I'm gonna have a heart attack. Sound works. Jesus. How you doing, man?
Good. Back home finally after a really, really long road trip.
I saw that. Now, you know, it's funny because when, I'm a fan of following social media, and I follow your stuff on social. And you know how, like, you watch posts or you look at posts and you could almost feel the post? It's hard to describe it, right? But I could feel the sort of, like, relief. I don't know if relief's the right word, but I can feel the sense of ease in your last, half a dozen posts being home. I can feel it. Is that what it feels like? It's like
I sense ease.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just familiarity, right? Between being back home in SoCal, making a short little mini road trip up north to test out the new dog on his first little mini mission.
Yeah.
That's all familiar water up there for me. So it's just like you said, like just easing back into like rhythms that I'm familiar with, whether that's the weather. And you guys would have laughed at me and Riley today because we went out saltwater fishing and we were dressed up like we were going Alaskan crab fishing. And it was probably a high of 65 degrees and the sun came out and broke through the fog. It was, you guys would have been ashamed of us. But yeah, it's good to be home. Quite the adventure this year, but I've been watching this whole show and I've been kind of caught in this mix of unpacking from the road, organizing old tackle like you guys are doing, and trying to decide what I need to leave behind next year, because I need to leave a lot of crap behind.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to stop faking the funk and pull this thing away.
Oh, look at it.
Oh!
Yes.
Look at
Bad
that.
house
Is that?
in this office right now.
Oh,
There's crap everywhere.
Look at that. We're watching. This is the headquarters of eBay. We're looking at. Look at this.
But now I got some room to stretch.
Yeah,
Like,
jeez.
such a weight, just coming off my shoulders right now.
Well, Oliver, help us answer, because we were sort of half arguing that question, which is you have those two schools of thought, right? You have the guys like Patrick Walters that carry it all, 40 rods, 50 rods in the boat. Boat won't go 63. You have guys like Ish that are his boat. He's got a well, he had a Ranger. I don't know what he's in now, but back when he had the Ranger, it was gone like 50, right? With just because it was a Ranger. But he's got no tackle in his boat. You like how I'm busting every other boat brand tonight?
You're very subtle
I
about
know.
it.
I am very subtle.
It's sneaky how you're getting it in there.
What's the right answer, Oliver? Is it better to have it all, or is it better to be streamlined?
Man, that's a tough one because I kind of steered towards your philosophy on that, Mike. I like having all of my options, and I think I'm trapped by how I was fascinated as a young angler coming up and then wanting to catch fish as many different ways as I could.
Yeah.
And I've built a lot of confidence catching them a ton of ways. And it's hurt me because of my poor off-brand boat performance.
Now, I didn't mention your brand. I did not mention your brand. Thus far, we busted Ranger, and what was the other one? Cayman? No, what was the other one?
I think you threw Skeeter under the bus.
Was it Skeeter? What's Patrick Walters? Whatever. I didn't.
But yeah, it's tough because even when I'm going to these new fisheries, I'm going through a much deeper, darker hole of more things I have to try to catch them on.
Yeah.
Especially since I have so much experience catching them on like so many different things. Like, so that puzzle is even greater for me.
Yeah.
So it's been tough, man. Like practices are gnarly. You can look at any of my content, and the front deck of my boat has got piles of rock. Because I'm a trash fisherman at heart too.
Yeah.
Being here in Southern California, our bodies of water are like your guys'. Most of them are little.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard to develop a pattern running docks when you have one dock, or running trees when there's half a laydown in the entire lake.
Yeah.
So you become really good at trash fishing and picking fish off specific pieces of cover to fill out a limit or your day. So I'm definitely haunted by the tackle junkie and hoarder mentality.
Yeah.
And I definitely saw the benefits of it this year in trying to streamline it throughout the practice events and into the tournament days. And thankfully I'd only have really like 2 or 3 main lures I'd kind of have narrowed down, but then I still kind of needed my options in case I ran across a specific scenario where I might only make one cast that day.
Yeah.
But like, man, that one cast can be a big deal.
All right.
So yeah, I'm trying to get better at it because I have just Tupperware boxes of tackle that I brought with me on the road, and I maybe used like 20% of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a struggle, and I think the answer is to meet in the middle, to find that happy medium.
Yep.
Oliver, we've got a lot of people watching and listening right now that are super envious of what you did this year, which is, man, you said, I'm doing it. I'm jumping in. I'm going for it. You fished all the events on the Open Series. These guys that are watching and listening, give them a little synopsis of your first year. Give them a little, just a rough gauge of how it went. Was it everything you expected? Was it less than you expected? Was it more?
Yeah, sure. First of all, it was a lifetime dream come true because honestly, man,
yeah,
38 and a half years of my life, I never felt like that was within reach in my means. I mean, dude, I spent a lot of money this year to go do that with the support of my freaking brand partners, and I couldn't be there without them. But it took a long time of leveraging myself from where I started, both in fishing and just financially and as an adult, trying to wrap my head around the whole thing from a mental perspective. And what I was ultimately the most taken back by was how much freaking fun I had.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like, even the first Northern, right? And I'm shooting Insta live videos, and I'm getting you to say something stupid. I'm getting Chad Pippin to say something stupid. I got Zaldane on the bank saying something stupid. And I'm just like, dude, this is badass.
That's awesome.
And I can't even imagine what the future would be like if I could actually not suck for at least 2 or 3 days in a row. So if you go in there with the highest of expectations, but like keep your feet firmly planted on the ground in reality, and just allow yourself to like enjoy the moment, I hope more guys actually have fun instead of just getting wrapped up in, you know, the pissing contest with 224 other badasses.
Yeah. Well, it's a great experience. The Opens are great. The Opens are a learning, training ground. You know, I've said it before, but Pete, you know, we've been doing it for a long time in the Open Series. That level of competition there is stout. It's stout because you've got the journeymen, you've got the locals, you've got a couple other guys, pro level guys sprinkled in there. It's not an easy place to just go and fish, right? It's a tough field.
Man, it's an incredibly tough field, and I love what you said about having fun. It was great seeing you. We didn't get to hang out much, but I saw you a couple times. I remember seeing you at Thousand Islands, and I love bumping into you. You're always smiling, and it's always positive energy coming from you, and that's really, really cool.
And Pete, I was smiling after watching 4 fish that would have gave me 24 to 26 pounds jump off that day.
Oh.
You know? And I was like, what can you do? Like,
and it's hard. It's hard to keep that at, but you got it, man. You got it, and I can tell how you appreciate it. And having fun's key. And I had a blast this year, you know, except for that time when Mike yelled at us all.
Yeah, I yelled at him.
It was
besides that time. It was a good year. Besides that one day,
it was fun. Like who the people you're hanging around with, and just having a blast. But what do you think was the toughest part for you? Like, was it getting to learn the new lakes, or was it dealing with like 200 guys that half of them are super studs, you know? I mean, what was the toughest part for you out on tour?
Honestly, boys, all of it. Like, going in, I knew it was a tough field. I knew I'd have to be breaking down massive bodies of new water. But just the complexity of all of these moving pieces made it such an incredible challenge. And I think that's why I found myself so deeply affected by it. Like it's crazy. I can see how so many people just want to do this and do this and do this because the context of it matters. And that's kind of what also pushed me to jump into it this past season was I knew the context of competing on a lot of times highly pressured traditional tournament waters like a Grand Lake, right? We got that like sloppy fits probably weekend after weekend after weekend. And like you said, you got 225 hammers comprised of all levels of amazing anglers. So you don't have the room to slip with even one fish. It's crazy, man. Like the amount of pressure these bodies of water get within even official practice, and all the guys are putting the extra time outside of that. Like everything gets hit. Everything obvious or semi-obvious, or even a lot of the subtle stuff is getting hit now. Like I'd find stuff in practice where I'm never see anybody, and then come game day, you know, there's 2 or 3 boats on it. Like, what the hell? Like, I thought I did this thing, you know, all on my own. And it's just one thing after another. So kudos to everybody that kicked ass this year, because I'm telling you what they did and what you did, Mike, and everybody that had a great season in the standings and the finishes earned it. Like nothing was given. And I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoy giving it another crack this upcoming season, and sucking a lot less, hopefully.
Well, speaking of, yes.
Me too.
Let's talk about sucking. I want to pick.
Wrong show.
I want to pick the worst lake. Tell me, because for me, there's no doubt Old Hickory needs to be drained, and that lake should go away. I hate that lake. The fish don't exist there. I can never catch them. Did you have a lake like that you're like, man, this is the toughest lake I've ever put my boat on?
You know, I didn't. Not this season. There were a couple on this upcoming season where I was like, I'm probably gonna bow out on these. But this season actually kind of lined up like on paper. I was like, oh crap, like at least half of these are like big fisheries. Like I should have a chance to do what I want to do. Pickwick ended up kicking my ass probably the most. Actually, I lied. Oneida kicked my monkey ass.
Well, that lake sucks too. That wasn't you, man. That was the lake.
That place kicked my monkey ass. Like it was bad. You know, I actually caught like a 4.5 on a popper within eye shot of Mike in practice.
I actually saw that. I remember. I saw you catch that fish.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, if I can like keep doing some of this, like I'll be all right. And come to catch one keeper smallmouth in 2 days. And I mean, my practice went so bad for that event. Like day one of the tournament, I had this game plan and conditions kind of seemed to line up in my mind anyway, to be more conducive to how I wanted to catch them. And I roll up on this island with a pin buoy and I fire off a popper on it. And it's like the third cast and I'm like, you know, super focused because this is halfway through the season now. And I feel like I'm getting some kind of rhythm and being able to better manage my mental aspect of this game and the energy and sleep and decision-making and making less terrible ones. And on the third cast, man, I blooped this freaking Pop Max on his buoy. So I'm just like, oh yeah, here we go. Like it's going to turn around today and I catch like a 29-inch walleye or something. And you know, that's my second giant walleye on a topwater, which all these walleye guys tell me they don't eat topwater. And I'm like, okay, just go fish a Bassmaster Open. I caught like 7 or 8 walleye that day. It was overcast and it was windy and they love that crap. And honestly, I just started having fun because I was getting bit by something. And, you know, even those big dumb drum, I was catching a bunch of big drum. And I fire back out after catching those freaking, I don't know, like 15, 20 pounder. And I actually catch my first keeper smallie. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, there's smallmouth around the drum. And yeah, there were no more smallmouth around the drum. And that ended up like having trolling motor issues, talent issues. You know, I tried not to beat up my off-brand boat. I couldn't help it, man. You know, I spent like 3.5 hours on the ramp on day 2. With the techs, and they had to replace some stuff I broke.
Yeah.
So it was wild because I was actually anticipating a really fun tournament because the last time I was there, I smashed them pretty good.
Yeah. Well, how about your favorite lake? What was your favorite lake this year?
Oh, by far, I think that St. Lawrence River. Like I feel cheated because on such a unique bite that I had to myself, even in the tournament, like not another boat within freaking eyesight.
What?
So it was really on me, man. And I didn't make the adjustment on the first day. Like I just don't have enough time on some of these fisheries to learn from my mistakes yet because I haven't got to make them on my own time. So with that big wind blowing on almost all my areas, I try to run my 8 or 9 milk runs, 8 or 9 spot milk run where I was like consistently catching 22 to 26, 27 pounds every day, almost at will. And those fish shrank to like 3 pounds. And I didn't even catch any 3-pounders in the 2.5 weeks prior or the month prior when I was in those areas. Yeah. And I didn't make an adjustment until mid-morning on day 2, but I made that adjustment finally. And in 10 minutes, I had a 4.5. And then in the next 2 hours, I literally watched like a 5.5 roll off at the boat as I was reaching to grab her. And then, mind you, I didn't lose a single fish in any practice. And the next 2 big ones, and I called it, I was fishing with my co-angler, Mike. And that's the nice thing is like I've had witnesses see my opportunities and my ultimate failures, but like, man, I got bites I needed in a lot of these events, but you got to execute, man. Yeah. And whether or not I was mentally fried at that point from just fishing so hard that week, dealing with some battery issues that I've since solved, but was going through in that tournament. Like I had a dead trolling motor by 2:30 on day 1, 1:30 on day 2, and still ended up having to like drift fish. Like I'm in a rental boat at Lake Paris again, getting blown by the wind. And you couldn't anchor down on the Canadian side, and watch 2 more giant, like high 5-pound class fish jump off, and then like a monster smallmouth just come off literally hit the side of my transom in my talon bracket as she went back in the water, and I caught like a 6'9" like 2 days later, and it was way bigger than that thing.
Whoa!
Wow. It was way bigger, dude. And I was just like, man, like this is brutal, but I want redemption so bad. Like I can't wait to go back up there. That's a special fishery.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And those big ones are so hard to catch. I mean, I lost a couple big ones every day. There's so many guys.
Yeah.
Street, you had a few mishaps.
I had a few mishaps. Yeah.
It seems like the bigger ones have those strong jaws, and they just, man, they make it so tough on you. Them suckers added to the current. Man, it's hard to catch the big ones.
Yeah, those current giant smallmouth that are still just as acrobatic, right? They're not like big largemouth that get so big they kind of have a hard time getting out of the water and they like waddle halfway.
Right.
Like things were skyrocketing out of the water.
That's a fact.
And when you can't use the landing net, and people keep forgetting about that little small tidbit. Like you can't use a landing net. Like it's easy to be a hero when you got a landing net and a partner or somebody, even solo, it can be so much easier. But to try to figure out how to grab or boat flip a 5+ pound angry, pissed off smallmouth in the current, it's daunting.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's all part of the challenge, right? So I look forward to getting better at landing them because I got the bites I needed, at least on one day. But now I know to make an adjustment from experience. So excited to get a little bit more experience on some of these bodies of water. At least half that schedule was new to me. And one thing that was a glaring revelation to me after the second event was how a lot of these fisheries with low weights and small fish were probably my best opportunities because at Douglas, I had the bites to lead the tournament on day one, and the co-angler of the year across the whole 9 events, John, watched 4 like 3 1/4 to 4 pound fish smoke a 10-inch glide bait and not get the hooks.
Oh man!
And I still like landed 3 or 4 of my keepers that day on a big bait, and I was just kind of mind blown. And in practice, I threw that glide bait on the first cast after spending almost all of my practice trying to figure out just how to catch limits and fish. And I was like, let's see what lives in here. And people are talking about, it's gonna be like people are gonna be weighing 5 to like 8 pound bags, and I'm like, for 5? Like what? Okay, this is gonna be brutal, dude. First cast with a 10-inch glide bait, and I got a 7 or 8 pounder on Tuesday afternoon, wanting to commit suicide on this thing. I actually had to pull it away from her, and in hindsight, I wish I just stuck her in the face. I had a 7 or 8 pounder, to be happy about in Tennessee. But I raised like easily like a 24 pound bag that I pulled that bait away from that afternoon, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I'm losing my mind because I had no idea this class of fish lived here.
Yeah.
And that big bait exposed them to me. And I got the bites to easily fish the top 10 there, but there was just nothing I could do. Like I've studied my own mechanics for thousands of hours, and I did nothing wrong. I didn't pull those baits from those fish. I didn't get trigger happy. I stayed calm and collected and in that pocket, mentally focused. And those smaller fish just have a hard time getting hooks on that 9 to 11-inch size bait. Like they really do.
Yeah.
Because the bait that I actually landed all my fish on was like a 6.5-inch bait, but I couldn't get those bigger ones to really react to it. And then I didn't really come across another scenario until I guess what was first? Was it Norman? Yeah, Lake Norman, right? And everybody's telling me, oh man, Norman's gonna suck. It's gonna be September and late summer, kind of not really even fall yet. It's going to be hot, bunch of, overgrown, stunted spots, which I'm familiar with fishing in the West here because a lot of our northern reservoirs get stunted by all these small spots too. So please keep all the spots. They're actually good eating, and you're doing the largemouth and the fishery as a whole a favor, in my opinion. They're ravenous. They eat everything. Yeah. And same deal. I kind of felt like I got dealt bad cards and bad hands for those last 4 tournaments. I spent a lot of time on the water, boys, especially these last 7-8 years, and chasing these bigger fish. And moon phase and conditions are huge.
Yeah.
And how they affect the temperament and the behavior of these fish, especially with a big bait. And every one of those last 4 tournaments, 2 weeks apart, mind you, landed on day 1 of a full moon or a new moon. And literally, I normally take the full moon day off from fishing completely. I'll kind of go fishing on a new moon if I can be coaxed into doing it. But literally, that was 4 tournaments in a row, starting from St. Lawrence to Lake Norman to Lewis Smith to Grand Lake. And that's a real thing. And it was definitely a real thing because like early in practice, when I did throw a big bait at these fish, and mind you, we also had frontal conditions into practice and in throughout the tournament. And it just so happened like on day 1 of the St. Lawrence, that big front came through and blew that sustained 15 to 35 mile an hour winds that my off-boat brand handled beautifully. Water, by the way. And it was interesting because the rest of the 3 tournaments would be the first post-frontal day. And that's the day I get to start my Bassmaster Open, you know, big swing on. And that was tough. And the crazy thing is I still got the bites I needed from the fish that I needed for Lake Norman and Lewis Smith Lake. I literally watched fish that would have easily put me in the top 10, eat my bait and not get hooked.
The moon phase is interesting to me because Brian talks about it with the swim baits and how important that is. When do we want to go? What's the best moon phase condition? And you avoid the new moon and the full moon? Is that what have you learned? I need to dive in here with you.
Yeah, it's a topic I honestly don't really like discussing too much because it has definitely shown to be a real thing. And because I have such a backlog of archived footage that's all time stamped and dated, I can actually go back and look at when I'm shooting epic days of fishing and see how they correlate to those moon phases. And like very rarely did it ever happen on a full moon. It did happen a little bit more on a new moon. But like literally the 2 worst days to pick to go throw a big bait. And it's interesting, I saw a comment on one of the Facebook posts, I think, leading up to tonight, and someone had a pretty common question of why I swung so hard at these events. And it seemed like I was trying to force feed these fish, but really I didn't feel that way because people assume that because they're catching keeper sized fish on their home body of water, like, oh man, these guys can't catch 5. Like, holy crap, man, it was hard to catch 5 keepers. Like just trying to do that, like through practice, especially. And I'm like, screw that. Like if I'm going to struggle and give myself a chance.
Yeah.
And I had that chance. I watched it happen. My co-anglers watched it happen. And with literally the worst cards that I could be dealt in regards to those conditions. And I did it on new bodies of water, doing things that I have a lot of muscle memory and experience doing. So I felt like I was literally 10 bites away. I mean, honestly, 7 bites away in the last couple tournaments because I'd weigh like 2 or 3 fish in and not get the other ones that would have propelled me into fishing on the final day, which is, that's what I want, man. Like even after the first event on Harris Chain, like sitting in 20th, I could have easily gone to one of the lakes, caught a meager limit and finished with a check, but like I would have gave myself 0 opportunity to fish for the win.
Yeah, trying to win. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was my goal coming into this, and I think that's where my huge advantage is. And when coming into this, when we talked about this earlier in the year before I jumped into it, I didn't want to do this at a point in my life and career where I had to keep eking checks to keep going.
Right.
Because I knew that would hamper my fishing style. And to be consistent is of 0 interest to me. Like I want to win.
Yeah.
I want to have one of those plaques that you have on that staircase on the way up to that studio, like so bad. And I would be honestly super disappointed with even second place, because dude, you were that close. Like, man, like that's got to be the worst.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I did what I did, and I didn't try to force feed him anything. Like, trust me, like, look at, you guys are gonna see the content at some point. Like, I threw baits that I normally use to just catch fish, and I could get them to react to a big bait in a lot of scenarios. Number one, because they've probably never seen it before.
Yeah.
And number two, I could fish behind guys that are definitely not fishing this, and appeal to a whole nother class of fish that was totally what I was looking for. Like, I found them. And to find them on these massive bodies of water is such a daunting task.
Yeah.
And then get them to even react, let alone actually try to eat the bait. And mind you, because of the conditions, their aggressiveness level on a 1 to 10 scale was probably like a 3. Versus 3-4 days prior, during the beginning of the fronts and during the fronts, I mean, my practice partners are watching me pull these baits away from wolf packs of like 3 to 4 pounders. And I'm like, oh my God, these fish want to die.
It's crazy.
So I feel really confident with what I experienced and what I was able to learn from it this year. And I'm not letting the stats dictate the narrative, because I know what I almost did.
Yeah.
I almost gave myself a shot in 3.5 of these tournaments.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you completely ducked my moon question.
Hell yeah.
You betcha, Pete. You betcha.
Yeah. The next time we film another Bass U segment, I'll definitely give you some more in-depth knowledge.
Go. I like the play.
I like that a lot
for that check.
Yep.
I like it.
I like it.
Marty Stone, is always he's talking about the moon phase and the feeding cycles and it's interesting. I want to learn more about it, because I mean we got to fish the tournament, whatever the phase is, we got to go.
Yeah. Totally.
So but I want to ask you this: do you think like fishing pressure is involved with that bite? Because I mean, there's 200 boats. These guys are here, like you said, a month in advance. They're putting hooks in fish.
Frothy.
Yeah, they're moving those fish around.
Nobody works.
Yeah, nobody works.
Not this year.
They all got Bitcoin.
COVID.
Yeah. So how is that? Do you think that is a factor on the big bait? Do you think that had something to do with it too, or it's more other conditions?
I felt like it was definitely a factor, and I felt like that was more advantageous for me, because I knew, guys weren't throwing the baits I was throwing at them. So those fish weren't as conditioned. But if I'm going to try and follow up on the James with a black and blue jig or a black and chartreuse crankbait, like how many times have they seen that in the last 9 days?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I found myself drop shotting my way to a lot of good fish in practice, fishing behind guys. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what I got to do. This is what I got to do.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to jump in real quick and just say this. I've been listening intently this whole time. And, you said something that's super important, and I want to make sure our viewers and listeners hear this, which is the best way to learn is to learn by your own merit and your own success and your own failure. And, dude, that is super, super important. When I look back at my career, and, it was never easy in the beginning. It never is. If it's easy in the beginning, it's never worth it. Never lasts long anyway, right? It's always, a struggle until you make those mistakes yourself, and you get better and get better and get better. And you did that this year. And I'm not going to make a big prediction and say, Oliver, you're going to have a phenomenal next year, because you've got to see a lot of things. You made the mistakes. You've learned, and I think you're going to have a better year. I do want to ask you this, though. Give me one thing that you're going to do different in 2022 that you didn't do in 2021. Give me one thing that stands out that you're saying to yourself, you know what, I'm going to do this different. Is there something blaring there, or is there not?
Yeah, actually, one of my my adjustments, at least to start the season and see how it unfolds, is to actually go completely opposite and actually start swinging these big ass baits at these fish from the get-go and seeing if I can find them from the start, because I was kind of saving all that stuff for game day.
Yeah.
Because I honestly didn't want to stick them, during practice. And I felt like it's harder for me to dissect these bodies of water to figure out those one or two, subtle things that they're going to respond to. And I would spend a lot of my practice period just trying to figure out how to catch good keepers.
Yeah.
And then maybe if I felt confident in establishing one or two or three patterns that I could hopefully rely on the tournament, then I'd pick up the big bait. Well, this time around, I'm just going to go looking for the big ones from the get-go and work in reverse.
Yeah.
Because to try to get big fish to show themselves on traditional techniques is very, very counterproductive for me.
Yeah.
Because even if they're not eating it in practice, they're going to show themselves.
Yeah.
If I can figure out what these things are living on and what they're responding to, I mean, that's a huge chunk of the puzzle, and I can eliminate so much water on these massive bodies of water.
Yeah. That brings up a good point, Pete. Maybe steers us in a little different direction, which is I want you to expand on that, because as you were saying it, I totally got it. I see Brian over here nodding because he likes the big bait. Pete's never thrown it, so he don't know anything about it. But
yeah, that 210 he was showing off in the promo for this was like brand new, dude. What's up with that?
Yeah, that shit's on his shelf at the house. He ain't using that.
It's too pretty. It's too pretty. I can't throw it.
Stolen valor.
Stolen valor. But you said something that I want you to explain a little more, because this is such a key thing, and for our listeners and viewers right now, which is that bait has drawing power. Explain that, because I want people to understand that, because I just fished with Keith Thomas a week ago on Nakamixon, and he's another local guy, Oliver, that's really good with it like you are, and we were talking that day about the same thing, and I'm in the back of the boat just listening to him because I'm just like a sponge. I'm trying to learn, but he kept talking about that too, talking about that bait has the drawing power that other lures don't have. That's a tremendous tool in practice, Pete.
Yeah, it is.
To be able to draw them and see where they live, see what they're living on. Explain that, the drawing power. What does that mean?
Let's take Lewis Smith Lake, for example. I didn't throw a big bait until the last day of practice because I was so focused on just trying to figure out how to catch these stupid middle of the river channel busting spots and figuring out a bait that they would actually respond to, and then weed through like 7 shorts to get one 15-inch keeper. And it's like, man, I just wasted so much time. I literally spent the whole day like trying to figure out how to get these stupid 13 to 16-inch fish to eat, and never gave myself an opportunity to start breaking down this massive like trident-shaped freaking lake,
giant,
and find the class of fish that I needed until a tournament. And I had to like break down this area where I got the 10 bites I needed on day 1 and 2 to fish day 3, because man, the weights are so low. And I think people, they might not realize how freaking tough it is to catch fish in a lot of these events because of all the pressure, because of the conditions, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And I wasted so much time just trying to figure out how to catch a limit, when I actually went to my strength in the tournament and watched these freaking big fish, including like a 7-8 pound largemouth that flashed on my big glide bait on day 1 and didn't eat it. Mm-hmm. And I got her to eat the 3rd time I came to her on day 2 and didn't get the hooks again. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like this is crazy. Like the top 10 guys are averaging like 9 pounds for 3 days.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was a tough tournament. And in hindsight, I wish I had just thrown that big bait to at least get those 3+ pound spots and those big largemouth that no one was really targeting to show themselves, so I can actually make a better decision on where I want to focus my efforts.
Right. Yeah.
It's I don't know. I kind of went against my gut this season because I just felt like I could catch them when I needed to on the big bait and hopefully round out a limit with a couple of, easier keepers. And I felt like the keepers are harder to catch. on a lot of these tournaments.
Yeah. Do you? This is for me personally more than everybody listening right now. When you're practicing with that big bait, do you? What do you do with the hooks? Do you leave the hooks on? Do you bend the hooks in? Do you put keepers on? Do you take them off? Because I love what you're saying, and I want to incorporate this into my practice, especially when I look at my elite schedule in 2022. There are for sure ones that stand out.
By the way, elite schedule.
Thank
22.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There are events where I'm already saying to myself, "Oh God, yeah, this is a place I want to throw that bait." How do I practice with that thing, with hooks, without?
I did a lot of experimenting with that this year, Mike, because of all the obvious questions, right? Do you want to stick those fish?
Yeah.
Do you not want to stick those fish? Do you want your bait to swim the same way? You're going to alter the action of the bait. And here's something that I thought about long and hard after a couple of these events where I'm seemingly out of rhythm. And I make a lot of basketball analogies with my fishing because that's the other thing that I've spent a lot of time doing in my life. And rhythm is important, right? You got to watch that ball go through that hoop to stay confident and continue being an effective player on that regard. And in fishing, I feel like you got to stay catching these fish too. And before, in the last several years, when I've taken a sidestep and bowed out of the competition side of this game, man, I would just go hammer these things day in, day out, like day after day, week after week.
Yeah.
I wasn't saving fish for no one. I was just sticking them.
Yeah.
And I was able to stay in a rhythm regardless of how many freaking giant fish I was catching, any smaller body of water, mind you.
Right.
Which should be representing a smaller population density of that class fish. And I'm like, dude, what am I doing? I just need to like stay in the pocket because by not like hooking some fish, by testing new hook designs and just different pieces of my terminal tackle like system, I'm not seeing that ball go through that hoop. And on game day, now the coach has got a play drawn up, right? And he's put me in the game. Like, I'm kind of shook.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen that ball go through that hoop in a couple days. Like, and I felt like I made a couple of mistakes because of that. And I don't know, this season, I might just go hammer them. Like, really.
Yeah. Because
when I did save a bunch of these fish in the tournaments, whether because I was pulling the bait away from those fish manually because I could see them coming for it, or if I actually bent the hooks in so you maintain the weight of the hooks and actually don't affect the way the bait's swimming, I never caught any of those fish that I saved. And I saved a lot of them, dude.
Yeah.
I saved a lot of them. So
it's interesting. Yeah.
It is. I got to say this, man. I totally can relate to what you're saying. Because I have some like vintage aren't made anymore baits, and I kind of save them to throw on tournament day. You know what happens?
You haven't fished a bait in a while, and you lose touch.
Or I never throw them. I never throw them.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to throw during the tournament what you threw at practice, and I find. Not all the time. Sometimes you have a supreme confidence in a bait in a situation and you'll pick it up and throw it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times if I find that I don't throw it at practice, I am way less likely to throw it during a tournament. I'm going to throw, the things that I might have gotten bit on or, different things. It's just an odd phenomenon. Like you're talking about rhythm, you get conditioned, you're triggering bites with whatever it is that you're throwing, and you're not going to pick up these tools that you didn't throw at practice. That's a really insightful observation in your own fishing this year.
Yeah.
I see what you were doing, right? You didn't want to show those fish the bait at practice. I
wanted them to see it for the first time and react the way they should on game day when it counted.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's more about moon phase. It's more, right?
It's all those things, man. It's all of those things.
Yeah. It's pick it up during the derby. It's going to be. I can't wait to see how this year goes with that new strategy.
It's like our buddy Keith makes a great glide bait, but he don't want anybody on his home lake to have it.
Right.
So you don't make them.
You don't make them. He just makes them for himself. He makes 5 for him the whole
for
year.
friends out of state.
That's right, friends out of state. Let me remind you, if you're watching or listening right now, man, we've got Oliver Ngy on the phone. If you've got a question, comment, please hit up Alex. Alex is sitting back there and doing a lot of
I see him.
A lot of writing down there. You want to go to Alex real quick?
Yeah,
let's go to Alex. Let's see
does
if we
Alex
got-
have someone?
Let's see
for us.
If not, I've got another great question. That's for me personally.
No, absolutely, guys. I have a lot of good questions. People have been firing stuff on the message board and YouTube. We really appreciate all you guys getting your questions. Been a lot of good stuff tonight. But Oliver, one question I wanted to ask you, and this was asked by Capital Outdoors. And Capital Outdoors, please send in your subscriber number. You are the lucky winner of a $25 Gills Gear gift card. And Oliver, what Capital Outdoors wants to know is, he says, Pete always says that you're always smiling, you're always having a good time. So could you talk about your PMA and how that contributed to your success out on the Opens this year, and how you plan on implementing that and putting it towards your success in this upcoming season?
Yeah, why the hell are you always so damn happy?
Man, I'm not 100% happy all the time. Like
job.
that moment when I lost that big ass smallmouth. I honestly, at that moment, I just wanted that big fish because it was a big brown fish. You know, I might have cursed some expletives that you could hear across the board.
Keeping it real.
But I mean, I immediately just started just laughing it off. Like, man, what the hell kind of day am I having here? But I benefit from having perspective, guys. Like, I know what it's like to not even be close to doing any of this shit that I'm doing now, and to be actually involved in these events against the field that I am, to have an opportunity to get the bites that I'm looking for, even though I'm not converting them or putting them in the box. Like it's been a surreal experience, and it's because I know what it's like not to experience any of this. I know what it's like not to be able to afford a $5 hard crankbait. So I've got to organically and slowly leverage myself to this position, and like I never forget the struggle, and it continues to be a struggle. But I remember when it was a lot worse.
Yeah, man.
And I'm getting to do whatever I want. And this year it happened to be fishing the Bassmaster Opens.
And you got to meet Brian the Carpenter.
Hell yeah. Man, if you guys ever get a VIP invite to the Garage Mahal, you cannot turn it down.
That's a great place.
Things go down.
It's a time warp.
But yeah, man, there's just knowing what it's like to know the suck makes it easy to appreciate all of it.
Good for you, man.
Amen.
Good, great answer.
Amen.
And can really appreciate that a lot. And it's a great question. We got what prize do we have for him, Alex?
Capital Outdoors won a $25 Gills Gear gift card. So Capital Outdoors, you want to throw your subscriber number over on the message board. I'll get that recorded, and we will get that out to you.
Awesome.
That's correct.
Awesome. You have anything else over there,
we got
Alex?
a couple big ones coming up too. We got two big
we
ones.
got
Just to
grand
remind
prize.
everybody, that's right.
Right. We're giving away a $130 gift pack for.
Yep, it's the Defiant and Oliver's hat and shirt that he's wearing right now.
I want that. That's the last pack that I want.
and a grand prize. Oliver, what's in the grand prize? You have this amazing grand prize. What is in this thing?
There's gonna be some dope, just mystery box style.
A
whole bunch of stuff.
A whole bunch of stuff. I'm gonna throw some Gancraft stuff in there, some Megabass stuff, obviously. Gosh, there's so much cool stuff here in this office that I can't bring with me on the road next year. At least I'm not.
Throw it all in the box.
So
I'll
what?
sort it out.
So what moon phase should we be throwing all this stuff?
Third attempt. This is the third attempt, by the way. I'm counting.
Stay outside the full moon day and the new moon day, and you'll be all right.
All
Every day
right,
but those two.
that's good sound advice. Alex, you have another IM for Oliver?
Absolutely, Pete. We have hundreds of them, but one that I thought was really good, and Oliver, excuse me, this comes in from Tim from North Carolina. And what Tim wants to know is, there's a lot of people starting to get into the big bait game. What is some things that you wish you knew when you first started to get into the big bait game, so you could help out some fellow beginners out there?
That is a good question.
Man, that's a tough one, and I know everybody wants a shortcut, but I think I benefited the most from my own failures in swim bait fishing, like Mike said. Experience is the best teacher, guys. And I'm sorry, but like the internet and some of these sources of information are full of guys that have actually never walked the walk. So
unless it's the Bass University.
Real talk though, unless it's the Bass University, right? Like, unfortunately, we live in an age nowadays where very little information is vetted or have to be screened by anybody. Like anybody can go off, on a tangent and tell you how to do something without any credibility checks. I mean, that's where you guys benefit from the Bass U platform. It's just nonstop hammer after hammer, like showing you guys proven techniques.
They're
like,
vetted through competition.
This is a great resource. Honestly, if you are looking for those shortcuts, like how many videos did we shoot earlier this year, Pete? I don't even remember.
4. I think we got 4 or 5. I was just looking at them on Bass U. You guys want to dive in? That's a great deal. Is you can find Oliver teaching about how he fishes these baits and all the tools, everything we're talking about is over on Bass U TV right now.
Yeah, I think he was throwing a glide bait on skim ice that day, right?
Yeah.
Slide it across.
That cadence is really key on getting the blast through that sheet of ice.
That's right. We have some aggressive bass here.
Yeah, there's some great 100-level, entry-level content there here on Bass U. Hopefully we can carve out some time this season to shoot maybe some 200 or even 300-level stuff.
Ooh.
But go out there and do it. Don't listen to someone, especially when they tell you anything in absolutes. Like you can't use this kind of bait in this kind of condition, or this style of thing won't work in there. It's like, what? Bro, they're fish. Like I've seen them do the wildest things. Like
I gotta weigh in, because when you said that, that's a huge red flag for me. When anybody talks in absolutes, it's like, dude, you have not been on the water enough.
Yeah.
Because there is no absolutes.
Right.
Only the fifth deal in absolutes.
Yeah. That's a great comment, though.
Yeah, seriously. Like those are the ones that I shy away from immediately. Go out there and have a mind of your own. Have fun with it. Experiment. Like my fishing day and process is an ongoing, nonstop experiment. I don't ever fish a bait the same way 10 casts in a row. I don't approach a bank or a piece of cover the same way every time I fish it. It's a mind-numbing game of just trial and error and process of elimination. Like seriously, like every time. And sometimes I'm dead sticking a bait on the bottom. Sometimes I'm burning it back as fast as I can, regardless of the water temp, regardless of overhead, conditions. I'm going to allow those fish to answer my question. Like, what are you guys going to bite today? Yeah. Well, let me try this. Oh, okay. Nothing followed there. And now we got this crazy forward-facing technology, right, Mike? Where we can actually sight fish these things and read their body language and how they're reacting, regardless of the visual water clarity conditions. And you can make adjustments from there.
Yeah.
So let the fish determine what will and won't work on any given day in any given circumstance. And that's the biggest thing, is just have an open mind. I'm going to go back to 2012 when I had this wild run of big fish. And it was interesting because in 7 weeks, and I'm not saying this to gloat, this is just what it was. And this is kind of what spawned Big Bass Streams as a movement. And it started on the foundation of this content that I was capturing. But I ended up with 17 largemouth, 10 pounds even or bigger in a 7-week span. And I don't even know how many 7, 8, and 9 pounders, or I was like shaking them off because they were like the mid-sized fish in the school. And mind you, like this madness going on, right? Like I've got some of my best fishing buddies that grew up fishing with me in the boat with me almost every one of those days. And they were so stuck on fishing a bait or a certain retrieve or whatever it was that they just saw me successfully bang these fish on the day before or even the morning of. But like, I don't know what the hell I was on then. I need to be drinking the same juice or eating the same food next year. But I was able to just stay super hyper adaptable. And I caught those fish in a different way on a different bait every day. Like it was crazy. I was able to stay one step ahead of myself even.
Yeah.
And if I had just gone out there with these crazy absolutes that I kept hearing people even back then talking about, I would have never experienced this stuff. Like, this is early on glide bait fishing, right? Like, I'm having to order them straight from Japan. There was nothing available here. And one of my most respected friends, who is an absolute giant freaking big fish killer in NorCal, like he's caught more teen fish than anybody I know. And he brought a mother overseas.
Ooh.
And he's showing me the Roman made mother. It's like a 12-inch big glide bait, like something about like this class, maybe another inch longer, big hand carved wood bait. And he's telling me how these glide baits are built in, or they have this built-in S slalom action, right? Like all you have to do is straight wind it. And I'm like, oh, that looks pretty sweet. Like, that's different than anything we're throwing at the time. But the kid in me is sitting there like pulling on the bait, using the rod to add a little bit more English, like popping it with the reel handle. And he's like literally telling me like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying to see what this thing really does. And I would actually find these unique cadences and rhythms to get this glide bait to do like short glides, and then like figure out how to make it like shoot off to the side on longer glides, and really break up that cadence, a lot like jerkbait fishing, and figure out a cadence that I could freaking mimic and get these fish to react to, where like I could line up a cast on a target and get it to do exactly what I want it to do coming up on that target, and I could call my shots, and when those fish would come up and smoke it. And if I had listened to even an accomplished badass in that moment, like I would have never discovered that.
Yeah.
He was mind blown. Like you could see in the old videos, he'd be like, "Son of a bitch, you on again?" Yeah, just have a mind of your own, guys. I mean, I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Good advice.
It's a good golden rule is listen to the fish. Fishermen lie, but the fish don't. Listen to the fish. The fish never lie. They tell the truth. You mentioned something there, Oliver. I want to go back on it, and we actually talked about this in the very beginning of the show. And I told Pete and Brian I would hit you on this one, which is I've heard people say the misconception of big bait fishing is that it does not work in cold water. A lot of us here in South Jersey over the last few years got to see that be false. We got to see a lot of these winter leagues won with big baits. Talk a little bit about that, because I think we have a lot of people watching and listening that are assuming this is only a warmer water temperature thing, but that's false, right?
Yeah, absolutely false. And cold water is relative depending on where you live, right?
Yeah.
Up until this January when I hung out with you guys in Jersey for whatever reason. I just
Boo!
the first time I'd ever bass fished in 37-degree water. Like that was a new experience for me. And when I had, local hammers that in your guys' area ask me in years past, like, hey, like, do you think these fish will eat a big ice slide in literally like 33-degree water? I'm like, shoot, dude, I don't know. Like, I've never even seen that. So I'm not one to give insight on things I haven't experienced. But the fact that you guys are out there doing it and actually catching them on glides in those high 30-degree temps.
Yeah, it's happening. Yeah,
a revelation to me. But it makes total sense, because even when it's, really cold for us here, I catch a lot of fish on a glide bait like an ice slide. And this is a unique bait because it's got almost a positive buoyancy, like it barely slowly sinks, and as water gets colder, it gets denser, right? So depending on the water temp, like this thing will actually suspend. And I'll actually tune these baits to actually get them to truly suspend, whether I swap the hooks out or add weight or whatnot. And I can fish them just like a jerkbait. Like guys love throwing jerkbaits in cold water, right?
Yeah.
And they understand the power of a stalled, suspended hard bait.
Yeah.
Same thing happens with a big glide bait.
Yes.
I can pop, 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 and let it literally just hover there next to that piece of cover where I'm anticipating a big fish to use. Then all of a sudden, 10, 15 seconds later, tick. Oh, I just caught a fish on a 10-inch glide bait. Like, there's so many parallels from traditional fishing that you can apply on a bigger scale with the big bait.
Yeah.
So don't let the water temp really dictate a whole lot.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I've seen it with my own eyes.
What was
It's
water temp
incredible.
when we went out? It was the week after Oliver left. Oliver was here for biblically historically, the worst week of fishing.
Worst week. It
where
actually
the water wasn't hard.
It wasn't hard,
right?
but it was terrible cold.
Terrible.
And then Oliver left, and we had a little warm up.
But
it was still. I would peg that water temperature at 39 to 41 degrees when we fished.
Yeah.
And it trended up a couple degrees.
Yeah, it went up a couple degrees. And Bri, you caught a couple in that tournament we fished.
Caught a 5.8.
You caught a 5.8 and
That's
another
right.
keeper
Another keeper.
booted another keeper because you were impatient. I had the net right there, but you didn't want to wait for me. But it proved that those baits
I
work.
was just trying to figure it out myself. You wouldn't let me throw the glide bait. You're like, you don't even know what you're doing. How can you do that? I'm like, I'll go figure it out.
I'm glad you threw it. I'm glad
That's right.
glad we got to see that misconception go away.
Cold water.
Cold water. I got another question. This one's for me. This didn't come through. I can't win anything on this question because it's not an official question that came through the message board. But I want to know, give us your undisputed top 3 big baits for 2021. Give us your top 3.
21 or 22?
The past year. This past year. Give us your top 3 when you look at the year as a whole, tournament fishing, fun fishing, just the whole year. Give us the 3 that stood out as being the ones for you.
Oh man, by far a DRT Clash 9 Tiny Clash played a big part in the tournament.
You throwing that a lot. Yeah.
It was wild. That bait has been hyped up as much as any bait's been hyped up the last several years. Like it's hard to get your hands on one. And I'm telling you, those fish react to it at times, like they don't with other baits. The Gangcraft 230 played a role for me. The Defiant 210 and 247 when I was actually trying to catch bigger fish like outside the tournaments.
Yeah.
Definitely played a role this year, like that 9-1 that you guys saw me flip that you guys posted to the page today.
That was awesome.
That was
awesome.
Yeah.
That was so
Doing it in
good.
Florida, right, where people have told me for years that they got too much grass and you can't throw them down there. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go see for ourselves.
That was a great video. And
So
in
great.
fact, it was great because I've watched it a lot, not just in the post we just made, but I've watched it a lot. You know how you see something and just keep rewinding it. And it's great because I can see you ripping it, like you're freeing it from the grass, you know.
It's like a lipless.
Like
right?
a lipless, yeah. And I'm like, God
Big
damn,
deal.
he's doing it just like, you know. And all of a sudden, dude, just pow! I didn't see the eat, but I could visualize the eat. You know, it was incredible.
But
It
the
was
eat to the boat, the
Oh,
hook
yeah.
set to the boat,
Almost
flip.
one motion. Yeah.
I remember you were like, "That's." I'm like, dude, look at that. He's like, "That's experience."
Oh yeah.
Because like,
I would
neither
have panicked. I would have panicked.
Would have walked
yeah.
it around the boat 3 times.
Oh yeah. Who would have had me in the hyacinths? Broke me off. Gator would have ate him. Something bad.
That was awesome.
Touch on that a little bit because I've seen a little bit of discussion about boat flipping fish lately, and ultimately, guys, the reason I do that is because I feel like that's my best option to land that fish.
Yeah.
Like, dude, we all fish hard. You guys saw this year, like, what grind it can be when you commit to the big bait. Like, dude, you want to convert that fish.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm sorry, but damn the fish's feelings at that point. Like,
Yeah.
I want to hold that thing. And in certain scenarios, man, like, that's the best option to land them. And I've done everything and made every mistake. Trying to grab them by hand, trying to solo net them is like the worst thing. Because what you don't realize is when you're actually losing your focus on that hooked fish to reach for that net, you're not paying attention and making those micro adjustments to keep that freaking hook pinned in her face. And then what happens too, you finally get the net, and you can see this in a lot of my solo videos, like you high sticking the crap out of this fish and this big heavy bait, and now driving her towards the surface towards you. And a lot of times that helps them just clear the water and just shake your bait free.
Yeah.
Like, a net is not a perfect scenario or answer. Like, there is no perfect answer. Every circumstance and scenario is different. So it kind of irks me when people are hypercritical of that landing method. Like, how do you put a value on a fish, even in a tournament scenario? You can't. Like, that fish in that context might mean more to that person than any dollar amount.
Yeah. Yeah.
And shout out to the old vet Randy Blockett, but I saw you posted a video about like ego driven like boat flipping stuff, and I'm like,
oh yeah, did you see that? I saw that too.
I mean, I did, and I didn't feel slighted by it, but it's like, man, like there's so much misconception about that. Like I'm telling you, like end of the day, especially like in a Bassmaster Open, if I can, I'm boat flipping them all if I feel like that's how I've got to land them.
Yeah. No, I got nothing against boat flipping. I like it. It feels good. It feels good to me.
What you saying? It's like driving a convertible Corvette or something with chest hair out.
Yeah,
it's like
with the
pumping
gold
egos.
chain. Yeah,
gold chain.
I like it. I pump it.
Randy,
put that music on.
That's awesome. He's against boat flipping because he thinks it's an ego thing. I didn't see.
I didn't watch the video.
I didn't watch it either, but
okay.
I like Randy because I like that he has opinions. And
Yeah, he
everybody's
does.
entitled to
And,
their opinion. It's
and
great.
Randy's entitled. That dude
he's
has
entitled.
won some.
Of course.
He's a badass.
An OG, man, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he gets so much hate, like actual hate. Like, okay, he's got an unpopular opinion, but maybe he's a little out there. But what did he do wrong?
Nah, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion.
It's silly. I like the fact that he's got an opinion and he's just speaking an opinion, even if I don't agree with it.
I don't agree
It's
with
just
a lot
an
of them.
opinion.
Same.
But
Especially
anyhow,
like
back
that,
to you,
that
Oliver.
him and his cohort stole the name Fishing the Moment.
There's
But
an,
anyway,
there's an opinion.
Yeah, there's an opinion. But anyway, back to the real quick. I want to get back to that DRT thing.
I want to hear about
I do want to hear about the DRT, and you don't have to go into specifics.
Yes,
but
you do.
That bait I've heard fished with the bill and without. Is there? What's the better way? How have you fished it?
I let those fish determine that.
Okay.
It's a pretty wild system. Let me find one here. Oh, this is a sick color. I'm like, oh, they're eating red hard baits. I think I'll throw that around one day. But they just came out with another tail design. But prior to that, I want to say there's like 9 different modifications you can make between the bill styles, the tail styles and position, even just changing the position of the tail. I'm trying not to hook myself here. These hooks are freaking sharp. But it was an interesting.
That'd be good for views if you did.
Just inverting that tail 180 degrees makes it do completely different things.
Right.
And there's like 3 or 4 different bill styles, so it's a unique bait in that you can get it to do a lot of different things. And I experimented even further, added additional weights to the bait in specific places to exaggerate certain motions that I was looking for. But man, it's hyper versatile, and really you gotta let the fish determine what they want to respond to. So like that's another time warp, right? It's worse than the Garage Mahal. Like you're out there and you're trying to, okay, let me see what it does on this setup, and then you're like 6 modifications in fishing the same
And a
bait.
12-pack.
Yeah.
Bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
Pizza.
It's a special one. It's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not sponsored by them or anything. Like they just caught fish for me this year, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been like one of Riley's favorite baits, and it's funny because when she first started throwing it, she was like, "Oh, this thing's so stupid," and then all it took was that first big one to eat it, and she's like, "Oh, I like this thing."
Yeah.
Catching them on it, and she really likes that thing now. And yeah, it's a pretty awesome bait. They've been around for a while. It's just funny, like a lot of things in this big bait scene. Baits will be out for years sometimes before they catch fire and get real popular for whatever reason, and all of a sudden you can't get your hands on one. You guys know that struggle.
Yeah, that one's definitely been out for a while, because I brought back 3 or 4 of them when I visited Morizo in Japan, and that's has to be going on 8 years, right? 7, 8 years ago, has to be
6 at least.
6, 7, 8. I mean, it's in that range, and that was before that bait was talked about, you know. And I had a few, and I didn't know what I was sitting on.
You totally glue-sticked it.
I glue-sticked it like the chatterbait. I did.
You know what? I did have another bait that actually stood out the last couple of events, and that was Kevin Brightwell's Chad Shad.
Heck yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
that thing got fish fired up for me.
Yeah. Chad's a good one. I like that one. That's it's one of the ones I've had
Which one
success
did
with.
you donate to the lake this
I
past
I
Derby?
donated a Chad, unfortunately.
Is that what you did?
I did. I don't have no idea what happened. I was, you know, Oliver, when you start getting in the zone, like I don't know, but you know, like
The cast off.
the cast,
Yeah.
like you start getting into it, right?
Yeah.
Because I had just caught one, like 10 casts before.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, there's a half bait. There's a halfie. I'll take
I'll
that
throw
half.
that in the mystery box. But
Yeah. Send that my way. I'll take the half.
Sign it.
No, I cast it one off, and it was heartbreaking because they're hard to get, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was throwing it on 20-pound fluorocarbon. How I cast it off, I have no idea, but it's in the bottom of the lake somewhere.
Yeah, we all make our sacrifices to the swim bait gods. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, there's one.
What are you firing those big baits on? You using 25, 50, 100 pound test?
16.
I was fishing 100-pound braid to 40 or 50-pound leader in that video that we were talking about in Florida for the shock factor.
Wow.
Like I'm not busting anything off. at that
100-pound
point.
braid to 50-pound, 40 foot.
Yeah, because there's no stretch, right? So it needs to
Yeah.
be able to absorb that tensile freaking shock of me swinging it as hard as I can into that fish's face and then lifting her up over the off-brand gunnel.
Take
Is that
that,
the high
Randy.
gunnel?
It lives still.
I mean, come on, Randy. He's got a 100-pound test. He can't boat flip.
It depends. Like every bait's situational. Pete, that's a great question. And almost every bait is different. Like a Chad Shad or even like a DRT Tiny Clash, right? Like this is a much lighter bait than the 9-inch version.
Yeah.
So I can get away with like, I don't know, 50 or 65-pound braid sometimes if I'm trying to keep that bait up high in the column with a short floral leader.
Yeah.
But I tend to fish heavier floral leaders than most because I've just seen like if you're presenting these baits properly to these fish, they don't give a crap what it's tied to.
Right.
You're not swimming up to your line and inspecting it and being like, oh, that's the wrong brand. I'm out.
Yeah.
If you're doing your job as an angler and you're keeping that fish focused on that lure, like they're going to strike it regardless of what the material is.
Yeah. Wow. Have you ever thrown off one that you would like to have back? Have you ever done that?
Dozens.
Dozens.
Ugh. It hurts, Pete.
Oh, it hurts hearing the stories.
It's painful.
Man, it hurts thinking about never fishing those baits and experiencing the things I got to experience with them because if I had fished scared, man, I'd never known the things I know now.
No
Don't be
kidding.
scared, Pete. Tie that thing on and throw it.
I aspire to tie one on.
That's so good.
It's never happened.
That's so good.
You can't imagine. I spent years throwing big baits and couldn't make it work.
Yeah,
But,
what are you talking about?
No, I did.
What, back in Nam?
Well, Junior, you got to understand, I've been around a little, you know?
Yep.
But dude, is Justin Kimmel on with us now?
Justin!
JK, you back?
I'm back.
All right.
Woo! What a great convo to listen to, man. I yet again blown away. We extracted a couple more things from Oliver that he may or may not have wanted to give up tonight.
Except for the moon phase.
Except moon phase.
Yeah.
Except moon phase.
Yeah, job well done.
But JK, I know you always bring it, man. I know you're an aficionado. Down in Mexico, you were gliding. And caught some big ones, and I know it's something that you really enjoy. But I know you reached out. You reached out to guys, and you always bring an amazing list. What do you got for us tonight?
So tonight we did a post panel, and I didn't just reach out to all the gamut of guys. I tried to reach out to pros that I know actually, throw the big swim baits. Because I felt like it'd be, I'd be curious to see what they'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And the question of the night was to our Bass U instructors was, what's your favorite big swim bait? Big in capital letters. And I was really crossing my fingers hoping we wouldn't get some 5-inch, grass pig or something, you know, answer. You know, some guys think they're throwing a big swim bait when they're throwing a 5-inch boot tail, but yeah, I got some good ones. We'll just start through the list, and then I'm going to want to hear what Ike has to say, because I know he's throwing it. And Pete, you just stick to those black Cincos, man, because we already know.
I will keep that in my hand and a flipping stick, and I think I'm going to keep doing that for a while.
Hey man, AOY titles. I think we can all learn something there. But anyways, it was a fun question tonight. Jordan Lee, started out with him. He said probably a 6-inch mag draft, which now that we have Oliver on, he's going to go ahead and say that is not a big swim bait. That's
pretty big. I mean, it's
but yeah,
moderate.
What did
tournament bait, I guess.
Palaniuk won on a mag draft?
6 or an 8?
I think he was throwing the big one. I think he was throwing the 8.
He's throwing both. Yeah,
he's throwing both.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a 6-inch mag draft freestyle, right? And that's the first mag draft I started throwing. That's a 10-inch.
Wow, that 10 is just.
It's a big difference.
That's Goliath, man.
It's a lot
Goliath.
of meat.
Man, awesome show and tell there.
The meat.
So we're going to move to our buddy GDP, who's not with us on the show tonight, but he's with us in spirit, and especially on the pros panel. And he gave up a bait that he's been catching a lot of big ones on, and that's the Jackal Gantia. The Jackal Gantia, and he specifically said scale gill for his color.
Wow.
Huh.
And I was like, wait a minute, were you talking about the Gantro? Thinking it was that bluegill bait? And he said, no, the Gantia. And he sent it back to me, and it's like a triple jointed bait. So it's not a glide bait. Oliver, are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. I guess it's just a winding bait. You know, it's got 3 joints, you know, kind of like, I guess, a triple trout-esque bait, but one more joint. So I actually had not seen that bait. So that's cool to get to hear something that's actually working for him.
Yeah. Shout out to GDP. You know, nice trip in Florida. Look forward to having you back in studio sometime soon.
Yep.
Maybe not.
Our pal Ish Monroe, he's going with the S-Waver 200. Didn't get much details, but we got the S-Waver 200 from Ish.
How's he going to fit that in his new streamlined boat situation?
He was going to give us an answer, but he had to go.
Is that actually in your boat?
He has one in there, just one.
Just one.
We miss you, Ish.
Like, never mind.
And we asked Ike's other former travel partner, John Cruz.
Johnny Cruz.
And he said, I plead the 5th.
And then he
That's what he said.
He's not giving it up.
Then we had to, go with the professional fish head extraction tools. And he said that he's given a lot of, a subtle group of mag drafts a good tour of the country. So he did give up that he's used a mag draft a lot. So another vote for the mag draft there.
He's holding things back. He's a TK guy, Clash 9 and a TK. He ain't trying to admit it though.
I don't know anything
challenging
about
that. Challenging that
challenge.
feedback.
Calling you out, John.
Big challenge, folks.
Inside info.
So this next one, this guy's not a pro, but he is a friend of the show, and he is somebody who will remain nameless. His name may or may not rhyme with firing shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
And he is dedicated. Let me go ahead and preface this. He has dedicated himself to catch the next Tennessee state record bass. And it wouldn't surprise me if he does it. Like, he is totally sold out on breaking a state record. And he's confident that he's around them. And he's catching giant bags on big baits. And I think if you know who I'm talking about, you can go follow him and see that he had a couple 35-pound bags last weekend.
Ooh.
But
how are we going to follow?
But yeah, he said 8-inch high power herring, 8-inch HPH is his favorite. And then this close second is the 8-inch bull shad glide. So big fan of the glide baits right now for a trophy hunter, as we'll title him. Brian Thrift, we contacted him. I know he loves playing with the big baits. He's actually given this one in a different type of question on a pros panel. So it's cool because now we know for sure it's legit. He threw it again, and I don't think this is a sponsor thing or anything, but it's the Depths Silent Killer 175. Says he gets uses it a lot in practice and gets a lot of big fish on that one.
What's that look like,
Depths
Oliver?
Silent Killer 175.
Does that look like?
Yep.
Oliver's got them all.
He's got one. He's got one back there.
I don't know anything about it.
Oh wow! You know what it looks like? It's just it's what they used to make the depth slide swimmers out of. They would just pop the bills out and weight them.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's a billed slide swimmer.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So it's got a bill on it. Okay.
Oh yeah, fixed polycarbonate bill.
Okay. Is that? Well, it's fixed, so it's not like the Clash where you can change it out and change up actions. It's got. So what do you do with it? Do you crank it, or is it got a lot of different things you can do?
You can wake it. You can crank it down. You can do all kinds of things with it.
Okay,
But most guys crank it.
Yep. So John Murray, I reached out to John. John loves glide baits. I can remember watching him on Bassmaster Live at Lake Havasu, getting some really big followers and not connecting at that Elite Series event that Aaron Martin's won on the bird pattern. But he loves glide baits, and he said the S-Waver 200 size as well. And I'll tell you another tip that we've learned from John in a Bass U class is that he's put those strips on the bottom of that S-Waver to catch bass, as deep as 30 and 40 feet on the glide bait. So he's been doing that for years, waiting those glides and getting them down. So I can only imagine if he was doing that pre-forward-facing sonar, how much fun he's having with forward-facing sonar doing that, that kind of deal. Because that's out of my league, man. That's out of my ballpark, catching them on a glide bait that deep.
That's deep.
I like it when they're looking up and they're using the surface.
Here's a tip. Not all of those sticky weights are created equal. By far, the best ones that I've used, including this season, especially because you can get like specifically weighted ones, including like 2 gram and 4 gram, which is like really heavy versus what most of us can find in the Bass Pro Shops. It's made by Gancraft. I don't know where you guys are going to find them, but go search for them.
Dude, that's some good juice right there.
Mike writing it down.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
I see you taking notes.
Taking notes. I like
taking notes. Me too, man. All right, so reached out to Chris Saldane, and I honestly was just figuring, okay, is he going to say the 8-inch or the 10-inch or whatever on the Maggie? Because I've been in the boat with him when he's caught bigs on Mag Draft, where we've all seen it. And Chris did not say that. He referred to the one that he caught him on live this year at Fork. He said his favorite big swim bait is the Tater Hogfather Gizzard Shad Glide.
Tater Hog.
It's also my favorite, but he has a lot more bites with it and proof. He said he likes, and this is where he goes into Bass U mode for us. I like the foil finishes in clear water and the opaque white colors and stain. Just about everywhere the Elite Series visits, 6-pounders key in on those big gizzard shad. I won't get many bites on it throughout the year, but when I do get those 12 or 24 bites in it every year, that's a lot of bites to me. I'm convinced there's no other lure that can deliver those kinds of weights. It's a work of art that actually gets bit. Not a ton of big hard baits that do the same. So a lot of affirmation there for Tater Hog's Hogfather.
Yeah, I was actually surprised Thrift didn't shout out Tater Hog. I mean, they're boys, like Norman boys. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's up, Thrifty?
Well, apparently they're not going to be boys anymore after that comment.
Not after I
BTC.
tell them what. Yeah, I'm telling them.
Shout out to Tater. Enjoyed talking to him at one of our interviews.
Yes,
Yep. I know that Thrift's former favorite big bait was a a glide bait that Matt or Tater Hog no longer makes. So maybe that's why that nobody can get him. Maybe that's why he's not saying it. Not sure.
Don't speculate. Who knows what goes through anglers' minds? Who's next?
The next one is the last one until we want to hear from Ike, because I know he's totally dove into the scene and made peace with the big baits. But Paul Bailey, he's the guy who taught me how to throw the glide. I took a trip with him to learn. We were throwing the 250 side swimmers and the I think another big Gancraft one, but got to see some things I've never seen before with him out at Clear, like 9 to 12 pounders following the bait. But he says he's got a new favorite big bait, and he said it's a soft bait. He said it's been the 6.8 Gancraft Bariki shad. He said he rigs it with a 10-aught owner beast hook, rigged my way. And what he said about his way is he takes a Carolina keeper, puts it on the hook shank to keep the hook from popping out of the top of the bait when smashing rocks. Keyword, folks, when smashing rocks. He says it keeps it weedless, and when they get it, it collapses inside the hook slot. The reason the Barikis is so good deep is it stays down. A lot less float than most everything on the market. He says it's his new crankbait. It's not real big. Paul's thrown 10, 12-inch baits. He's not really calling it a huge bait, but when you need a big bite, and it takes his big rod and big line to hook them and boat them. So I'll show you real quick about the picture he sent, rigged his way. It's got that Carolina keeper right on that hook, if you can see that. So that's the Bariki shad, and he puts that Carolina keeper right there. Says he's been catching a lot of bigs, grinding that thing on the bottom like you're fishing a crankbait. Thought that was really cool and unique. Oliver was doing some show and tell there. You got some juice for us on that one?
Oh, absolutely. That's a great tip by Paul on the Carolina keeper, but be on the lookout for these guys. BKK hooks are freaking sick. And this thing is called a Titan Diver. You see that?
Oh, it's exactly what he's doing.
It comes up, and it's got these silicone stoppers that do exactly what that Carolina keeper does, but you're not sitting there fighting with a pair of pliers trying to force feed this thing in there. Right. It literally comes assembled on that hook. And the dope thing about this one is it's actually got like a modular system. You can actually remove the weight and add a different size weight to it.
Whoa.
Or fish it without it. Like, it's slick, man. And you can actually even take off the underspin portion of it as well.
Write that down, Mike.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. BKK Titan Diver. I think your boys at Tackle Warehouse just started carrying them.
Cool.
The unfortunate thing is I think they're just carrying like the smaller sizes. But do they make them in 8-aught, like I just showed you, 10-aught, 12-aught, 14-aught, 16-aught, and 18-aught? Like, gnarly.
The hell's that?
I got to get an 18-aught just to have it.
Tuna hooks, guys. These are tuna hooks.
That was 18
That's
knots.
8-aught.
18 knots bigger than any bass I caught on the Delaware last weekend.
That's huge.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that's a dope system. So for you guys that don't want to stick yourselves trying to get a Carolina keeper on a different weedless hook, check that out.
Oh, nice.
That's really cool. It's a great tip. I really thought this whole smashing it into rocks, talking about the bait's got less float so it stays down.
Who makes that bait?
Huh?
Who makes
It's a Gancraft bait.
Gancraft?
It's a Gancraft soft bait. That's the one. He's holding it up right there. Bariki shad. By
Bariki
and
shad.
Hold that up again full screen. Can you put it on? Oh, I'd like to see that bait.
I'd like to see
What
it.
sizes do they make, Oliver?
So this is the biggest one. This is a 6.8, but then there's a 5 and a 4 and even a 3. And I was fishing a lot of those smaller baits, along with a spark shad and a hazardong shad this season, just to give those fish a different look and a slightly different swimming profile. Man, they definitely are going to be in the boat next year. Like they catch.
Yeah, my ears perk up when I hear the qualities of it staying down. A lot of times I feel like, we as novice anglers, so I'll put myself in the novice swim bait angler category. You get a little too fast sometimes when you're trying to grind a swim bait on the bottom, and it's easy to get that thing up. So if there's a bait that's going to help me keep it down and making bottom contact, it makes me, my ears perk up big time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to add that to the Tackle Warehouse order list.
Very interesting.
Excellent. Great list, JK.
Yeah. Good list.
That was terrific.
Man, funnest part of my job, man. I love doing it. I really appreciate all you Bass U TV instructors participating. But now I want to hear Ike's.
Yeah.
Favorite.
Can I take a guess?
Yeah, take a guess.
It's a prototype.
Prototype.
Ike approved.
Yeah.
And then you take it from here.
That's not it. No, I mean, I honestly can only tell you what, from my experience in the last year, and all my success with big baits have come on basically 3 baits. So on the hard side, it's Kevin Brightwell's, it's the KGB, it's what are the 2 sides? The Chad and the Legend.
The Chad, yeah.
Yep, the Chad and the Legend are the 2 there, which is a hard glide bait. It's Keith Thomas's swim bait, which what's he calling it?
The donk.
The donkey.
The donk's a 10-inch bait.
Yeah, the donk, which is 10-inch, and then he's got a new small one now called a muscle hamster.
His son's bait.
His son's bait that I fished. It's like more like a 6 or 7, probably, right? Smaller than a 10.
Yeah, it's 6.
6.
Yeah, I'd say it's 6. Yeah.
And they're both hard single joint baits. But the other one I want to throw out there is one of the biggest bass I caught this year with Brian the Carpenter on a trout bite came on the Baitsmith. Oliver, come on. We were looking at the bait when you were here. And shit, like a month or 2 later, I went out with it and caught a donkey with it. Baitsmith. Big ass.
Big 7 or 8 pounder you caught in that trout lake?
It's this big ass rubber trout. I caught
I told you didn't be throwing that thing.
Look at that thing.
That's it.
That's
it.
Through the trenches.
Yep. Big ass Baitsmith. Yep.
All right, I got to go back, Mike. Let's go back to 05, 06 when the big bait craze hit the Elite Series.
Oh, yeah.
And you were out there. They were taking you freaking all over. God knows what your gas bills would be now. But, man, like, I think it was Amistad.
Yeah.
I remember this. I'll just try to describe it. I remember this, and maybe it was an osprey, but I remember this kind of osprey category looking like bait. And it had big old orange throat, bunch of green and vibrant colors. But you were catching donkeys on it. What was that bait?
It was a through line, and it was the only company at the time that was making the through line.
Swim Babes?
Swim Babes.
Yeah.
California E.
Yeah.
Was the swim bait. And, so, and again, I didn't know shit about shit except that they loved it. They were eating it. And that big one was like a tilapia pattern, because the tilapias were real brown and had a little orange in them. And that was the deal there. But then I went to Falcon and figured out how to catch them with that same bait deep. And True Tungsten at the time. So what happens is all those through lines have a aluminium.
What?
Aluminium.
Aluminum.
At the time, they were aluminium, and they had. It's basically like a little.
That's aluminum.
Right.
For everybody.
Yeah, and it's the piece where your line goes through the body, right?
Yeah.
And what I started doing was I would pop those Johns out because they didn't weigh anything, and True Tungsten made a tungsten sliding weight. Along like a tungsten mojo weight.
Yeah.
And I would
just glue those in there?
Yeah, I would put super glue on there and I would push it in.
Put mustard on it.
And I could get that bait 30, 40 foot deep. On the second day at Falcon Lake, I caught a 10-1 on the Baby E in about 40 foot of water, slow rolling it. It was my first fish of the day. And that That
Did they have a camera on you for that?
What's that?
Did they have a camera on you for that?
They didn't have a camera on me because the first day I only had 37.5 pounds for 5, and guys were catching like 40-pound bags, so I didn't even have a camera on me.
Are you serious?
But I lost big fish that day to a 12-13.
Oh my God!
Wow.
But the through lines were amazing. They were amazing for a while there for me. It was like that was a swim bait that I really and we took them back home. We took them to South Jersey. They were eating them like crazy. I don't know. Through lines haven't been as effective for me.
And
I don't know.
You know, the amazing thing about the through line, because I was throwing them heavy at that time, is the strike to catch is insane. You never
Pretty
lose them.
good. Pretty good. Yeah.
You know, they bite it, it's caught.
It's pretty good. Pretty good ratio because that bait would get away from the hook.
Yeah.
You know, and even if it was big, you know.
Yep. See that, BTC?
Yeah. I'm looking at you. I don't know.
Throwing through lines before you even knew what a swim bait was.
Oliver, what you know? Oliver, what you know about that?
Picks?
What you know about that burrito through line? What you know about that burrito?
I don't have any personal experience with it, but I see plenty of guys smashing them on it.
Okay, I've been
I
hearing
know
a little
they're silicone based and not plastisol.
Yeah, I've been hearing a little chatter about the burrito through line. Yeah.
It's good stuff. Hey guys, we have some amazing prizes that Oliver's donating, and we're going to be giving them away. Get ready, because BTC has some questions that he has prepared, and it's going to be based on tonight's show. Or something else.
Or Ken Duke stepped up and
Or
blew it out of the way.
Or
shout out to the professor.
It's too good for the other ones. They'd have been bap, bap.
Okay.
Ken's made life hard on them.
All right, guys, get your thinking caps on because we're going to be giving away some really, really cool stuff. Are you ready to give something away, Brian?
Come on, let's go.
Alex?
Absolutely. Which one would you want to go with first, Brian? The grand prize, or should we do the
we're gonna
defying?
save the grand prize. And again, guys, if you're watching, sign up for free. Get in there. There's still time. We got a $200 gift pack. I don't know. By the time Oliver goes through it, might be $300. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, we got amazing.
By the time he sends it to me and I send it out, it might be $150.
We want that half. We want that half Chad in that box.
Do not let these gifts pass BTC's garage.
How dare you?
Guys, right now, go check it out. Cyber Monday special, Cyber Week special, really. It's $49 for 6 months, Bash UTV, and you get access to all this great stuff, all our pro member offers. So go check it out. You can try it out for free, too. But we're going to be giving away this prize to one of our subscribers. So you got to be a subscriber to win big.
That's true.
At Bash UTV and learn big, honestly, because Oliver has amazing swim bait content that's available right now. What we just touched on with him tonight is just a fraction, because you can go check him out using his off-brand boat over at Bash UTV. Several seminars available there, and you can learn a lot.
Yes.
Yep. You can learn a lot. So go check that stuff out. But are you ready to ask the question?
Yeah. We're going to go with that Defiant 210 and a Big Bass Dreams hat and a shirt.
Big Bass Dreams.
Yes. All right. What company first patented a lure with a diving lip?
What company first patented a lure with a diving lip?
Wow.
From the mind of Ken Duke.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
First company that first patented a lure with a diving lip.
Going to say it was 100.
Can I guess? I don't know. I can't give it away.
No.
I'll write it down and show it to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like when you guess. I like when you
I
guess.
can't say it.
We never know the answer.
It's got to be this one.
I
wonder.
mean,
It's got to be that one. It's got to be that one.
Nah.
What?
Let me see. What'd you write?
Oh, I know it now.
Nah.
What?
Let me see. Let me see your paper.
They were my two.
Ding, ding, ding! I see a winner.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Damn it.
Can we guess now? Hey, let's hear your guesses.
My guesses were Rapala, which got the no, and then Hedden, which got the no.
What was the spoonbill? Was that a lipped bait?
No. Piece of metal.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, bent spoon. That doesn't count.
Alex. Bring it.
The winner of, I kind of remember this gentleman's name. He's might be rivaling New York Chris in his stockpile of Bass Hugh and Ike Live winnings. But the winner of the Defiant 210, along with the Big Bass Dreams hat and shirt, is none other than Lee C. Coming in first with the correct answer of Creek Chub Bait Company. They patented the Wiggler in 1920, but they've been making it since 1906. And that, of course, is from the mind of the wonderful, powerful, all-knowing Kenneth Duke.
Yeah. Wow.
All-knowing, all-seeing.
Of course. I remember those angled lips that came down. Rapala did make those lips in plastic or
the shallow shad wrap.
Yeah, and that same lip design.
And then they ripped it off for the what's it called?
Hybrid Hunter.
That's right.
All right.
Lee C.
All right.
Congratulations, Lee C.
All right. Remind us to mute Brian's mic in the future.
So what? What happened?
Hey, congratulations. Thanks for hanging out with us. He's very prolific. Bass University fan. Appreciate it. And we've got another big question coming up.
Yeah, and Oliver smoked. They were out saltwater fishing today. My man almost got seasick, so we got to let him roll.
Oh, man.
Get soft.
Do you get seasick? I get seasick too, man.
Yeah, I can.
What, do you use the patch or do you
No,
not?
I just take a Dramamine most of the time, and I'm good. But today I didn't take one, and then I caught myself rigging tackle. And anytime I focus like that, kind of gets me in trouble. So I was kind of teeter-tottering all day, but I was fine.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't feel amazing.
Well, dude, your appearance was amazing.
Yes.
How's that? You didn't show.
And Riley caught this giant orange sheep's head thing, right?
Yeah. California sheephead, way cooler than that Gulf Coast Atlantic weird human teeth looking sheephead.
Yeah, of course they gotta have crazy hair.
California sheephead's black and white, black and red, multicolored.
Yeah.
Crazy looking. Yeah.
And they're transsexuals.
Wow.
So there's that.
Wow.
He, she, him.
No comment.
Well, we're glad that you were able to, join us tonight. It's great stuff, man. Appreciate you, except for the transsexual stuff. But,
it's science, Peter.
Yeah.
Science!
Don't you question science.
I don't know how you identify BTC, but
I'll show you later.
He identifies with fire hose.
Stop it.
With whiskey. That's what he identified.
We got a grand prize coming up, folks.
Yep.
Oh, grand prize.
Oliver, we're going to let you go, buddy. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, man. Thank you. We love you. Good luck. We'll look forward to seeing you next year on the Opens. I'll see you at the Northerns, buddy.
You guys on the water. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Have a great one. Thanks so much.
See you, bud.
Hi, boys.
It's awesome.
That was awesome.
We still have a grand prize, Peter.
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready. Were you ready?
I'm ready.
Who has the question? Alex?
Yeah, I can go ahead and ask it here.
Take it easy.
So, guys.
All right, Alex.
You want to? Okay.
Go
with it.
Alex, green light, go.
So this is going to be another antique lure question. This again is for the grand prize, a $200 mystery box, including a half Chad shad. It's going to have machine lure works, 13 fishing, nickels, bass tricks, anything that Oliver decides to throw in there, and minus what Brian takes out of
bass
it.
boat. It's going to have everything.
Yeah. Alrighty. So for the grand prize, the question is, what was the first swim bait patented? So we'd like the name of the company as well as the name of the bait. So if you guys get that in there, you'll be the winner of the grand prize question.
What was the first swim bait patented?
Don't say it
Is
out
it
loud.
that?
Don't say it out loud, though. First swim bait. That's a good guess.
Who's the company?
That's a hell of a good guess.
Come on, he's get Cameron on you.
I'm on the side.
No, Cameron.
No.
No?
Get out of here with that.
Get out of here with that.
I thought it was a good guess.
It was a good guess.
Wow.
Well, once again, we already have a winner.
Come on.
Very quick. It was,
Same guy.
Let's see, it was not the same guy, but it was the fourth
Epic
guess.
Eric, New York Chris. Who is it?
Winner of our grand prize tonight, I have to keep scrolling up because the answers are still flowing in, but the winner of the grand prize $200 mystery box of swim baits is Emil Wagner with the answer of the K&K animated minnow, which was patented in 1907. Congratulations, Emil.
Out to Emil, our pal with.
Oh, there it goes. That's an actual dude. That's a joint. That's a jointed glide bait.
Wow.
From what
It
year?
is.
Alex, what year? 19 what?
1907,
Dude,
right
they
when
were way
Pete got his first armpit hair.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in grade school at the time, folks.
Yeah.
I got 1906.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's funny. We're going to hold
Way to go, Emil.
Alex's pay
Against
moving
the
forward.
field. He's a Georgia guy. He works for Pure Fishing.
Applied
He's a-
for the
he's a-
patent in 06.
he's
and
a
got it in
stick.
07. Yeah.
Wow,
Man.
that way ahead of the curve there to have a jointed swim bait in 1907.
Dude, was it S swimming back
I
then?
wonder if it was. It has the single joint. It may have been.
Dude, I mean, it's the same hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically is, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. That was perfect. Oh, yeah. No, back then, as easy as the fishing was, you could cut them on that. You would cut 50 on it in 5 casts. You would cut 50.
That's right.
Everybody's like, new bait.
10
You know,
cast.
super high tech. Nobody's ever seen it before.
Nah,
19 for whatever.
7.
Gosh. You know, it's just hitting puberty.
Yeah.
Been around forever. Ugh. Good Lord. Hey, great.
boy.
Great. Unbelievable. Unbelievable answers.
Yeah, they were good answers. I
You
can't
know?
believe our viewers are very, they're smart. you
They're
know?
super quick.
smart. They're smart and they're quick.
Really fast with Google.
They are
Yeah.
fast Google.
Yeah.
They're
Google
using
machine.
they're using Web 3, the dark web.
The
They're
Google
doing
machine.
something.
Good show, Pete. A lot of great little tidbits tonight. We talked about fall fishing. Gosh, we talked about tight wobble crankbaits. We talked about
Chest
big
hair.
baits. We talked about off-brand boats. We talked about a lot of good stuff tonight. It was really
It was
good.
fun. It was good having you in studio, man.
Oh, it's
you
great to
know,
be
because
back, yeah.
we're not going to have you for a long time.
Well, you know, I'm going to be floating around here and there. The good thing about the elites, if you look at the schedule, February sucks, March sucks. But once you get to April, May, June, the rest of the season, there's one a month, one tournament a month.
That's very cool.
So that's really good. I'll be fishing the 3 Northern Opens as well. So I'll have those sprinkled in there. But, man, I'm looking forward to being
Man, what
back.
a schedule.
Yeah, it's going to be a good season. I have a good feeling about it. It's going to be a good year.
Well, we are going to see you probably in Florida.
Hopefully we'll see it Florida. We've got some big things we're announcing, hopefully officially announcing here in the next week or so with Bass U and Bassmasters. Some real exciting stuff.
Very
it's going
exciting.
to be good.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Bassmaster Classic, Brian the Carpenter. If this new a strain of South African COVID doesn't take over the world, I think there's a good chance we're going to have a nice classic again, and things will be good.
South Carolina, it's going to
South
be a
Carolina.
blast.
Yeah.
We're coming. We're going to be there. Hope you guys are going to be there, too.
I'll be there fishing it, the Kayak Classic.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Add that one to
exciting.
your belt.
I saw this comment. I think it was on the YouTube earlier. You're able to use a net in the kayak event.
You can use a net
in the
kayak
Bassmaster
event.
kayak
Yeah.
event, but not the Bassmaster boat event.
Nope. And it was interesting. I could use a net, and I brought the net with me, that event that I won on the Bay this year, but I never used it.
Really?
For the same reasons that Oliver said. I really felt like it's like every time like you would go to get the net, you'd be fumbling with it. You'd lose the momentum. And I just decided in that tournament to land the fish without the net.
Like a man.
Like a man. And the spinning rod fish, spinning rod fish, I landed, by hand. I cradled them or lipped them. And the two big ones I caught punching, I just boat flipped them just like you would on a regular boat.
Kayak flipped them.
Yeah, kayak flipped them. It was great. It was awesome.
What do you think about that, Ike? Do you think that the professional kayak trails should move to a no net?
I think you're going to see a lot of changes in the leagues over the next dozen years, half a dozen years. I think it's growing. I think the momentum's on its side to keep growth. Keep growing. You're going to see colleges. You're going to see college kayak fishing really start to become a thing. I love it. I think it's great. The problem with high school and college fishing was always those kids can't afford a $60,000 boat, right? With
Yeah.
kayak fishing, if you open it up to that, dude, college kids can afford that. College kids all of them can own their own kayak, you know?
Most definitely.
So
I
it's going to open
couldn't
up, man.
when I was in college.
Dude, the more you see these championships, so the Hobie, Christine Fisher just won.
How about that?
30 grand first place.
What?
The Bassmaster
She did?
Classic. Yeah. The Bassmaster Classic Kayak Championship in March, 30 grand.
Wow.
Chad Hoover's is 20 or 30 grand. And this is the beginning of it. As these prizes go up and up, you're going to see this get to be a big part of professional fishing. I'm telling you. It's coming.
I got a question for you outside of kayaks.
Yeah.
When you go back and weigh in on your first tournament at the Elites, will you automatically be fined? Like, because as I recall,
Yeah.
on your last tournament on stage,
Yeah.
you crowd surfed.
I did. I crowd
You
surfed.
violated all.
I did. I threw my jersey into the crowd,
You
which
did
was
all
a direct
those
violation.
things.
I did. But that was
That was
the
under Tripp.
Yeah, that was the regime under Tripp.
The regime.
And I feel like I am the what is that? The statute of limitations is up for that now. So I think I'm okay.
I don't know.
You might have an out there.
And the other thing is you got to remember now we have new tournament director Lisa, and I'm also the elder statesman now. I'm one of the old guys, so I think maybe they'll cut me a little bit of break. Maybe
I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
I'll talk to some people.
Yeah,
Talk to some people. Get me fined.
I'm-
You want me the same?
Yeah,
you know.
I think a fine is in order.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a shout out. Jason Christie was on our YouTube feed tonight watching and commenting. Christie IE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
Good to have
cool.
you with us, buddy.
Yeah.
I don't know
Our
if he's
Bass
still
U
there.
instructor. One of the most popular ones.
One of the most popular because he gives some of the most powerful, informative seminars on Bass University. It's amazing. Every time we release his stuff, it just gets huge feedback.
He's a
across
natural.
Bass
He-
channels.
He's a natural.
He's a natural. Yeah, he's one of those
It's hard
ones.
to duplicate that.
Yeah, he's in that category with Aaron and Ott. Jacob Wheeler. They're naturals, man. It's pretty unbelievable when you look at it.
And he won this year, right?
Yeah.
So he's fishing the Classic. He won this year at the Sabine, I think. But it's his top 5 finish that still blew me away. And I'm telling you, if you guys watch that live show, I put a newsletter out about this. I still
Which one?
Still
Which one was that?
Have the Neely Henry event.
Oh yeah.
I still have yet to uncover what that brand of tube he was flipping in the water willow, getting 5 times as many bites as anybody else in the field. And I want to know so bad. It was like a gray, bland, smoky colored tube. And I mean, I
smoke
have
purple
been
po' boys.
searching and searching for what that tube is, trying to ask people, using all the connections. It's still
Using all the connections.
Yeah,
come up. No, Jason ain't gonna tell me. No.
Using all Mike and
Oh,
Pete's
I know better.
connections.
Yeah, if I remember correct on that one, he was fishing right in the same area as a lot of the guys that had success, right? Not far from the boat ramp, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing the boat ramp like in the back, in like the background, like the bridge and the boat ramp, like he was right there. Huh.
He was getting twice the bites, maybe 3 times the bites. Swindle, Logan, all those guys were getting.
Yeah.
That stretch was hot. I think it produced practically all the top 10. You had a crazy event, with the water coming through that system, and then it already fluctuates like 2 feet from the top end to the bottom. It's a weird lake, but I can't believe, I've been around water willow all my life and I've never flipped a tube in it. And it's,
did you identify what kind of hook he was throwing?
He was flipping, I think, a wide gap. I think he was going Bill Lowen style. Not like Wesley Strader, who is another guy who still flips a tube. It's on his deck a lot. Wesley uses that Trocar tube hook. It's like a big circle gaff hook. It's got a big keeper.
Yeah.
But Lowen's big thing, and he said this in I think the catch your limit class, like how to get a limit, always catching 5. That's what Bill Lowen was known for.
Yep.
And a tube was a big part of his upbringing, flipping it, Ohio River. and Bill Owen flips it on a wide gap hook. He takes the Superline wide gap hook. He bends the point just barely up, and then he keeps the when he rigs the tube up, he makes sure the eye of the hook is out of the plastic. And he said that's the biggest thing.
That's right. Yeah, I remember him talking about that in the seminar.
And I want to say it was really hard to tell. Like, I can zoom in on photos and find out the baits, but it's hard to look at hook styles. But I want to say he was doing the wide gap hook thing with like Lowen style. Yeah. But fascinating stuff to me.
Interesting.
It really is the old school tube, and nobody knows Bass University like you do, JK. You can bring it. Appreciate it. Appreciate your great list tonight.
Yeah, that was good,
good one.
Yeah,
that was
for
a good
sure.
One.
And
a lot of fun.
What do you got, BTC?
Shout out to Mark Jeffries.
What's up with Mark?
He's retiring, stepping away
from basketball and teaching and bowling and
from society.
Is that official though?
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
I believe he announced it on the show yesterday, December 20th. He's out.
Okay. Well, congrats, Mark.
Congrats, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you've done for us.
Yeah, living the good life,
buddy.
man. Screw working every day. And
I didn't catch it on
fun.
the show. I caught the cliff notes from Duke, but I believe he announced it on the show yesterday.
Hopefully.
I hope so.
If not, we just did.
Yeah.
There's Mark right there. So, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Congrats on retirement. Congrats on retirement, Mark.
That's great stuff.
December 20th.
Wow.
Less than a month. He's out.
Man, good for him.
He's out.
Yeah.
He's full-time BTL, in other words. He's not retiring. He's quitting that? What?
Out. Let's give it to Matt. It's Matt's birthday present.
What?
I got a retirement.
That's shocking
Yeah, I got
to
a
me.
retirement coming up. I'm going back to win a couple more of those blue ones, another classic and another AOY. As soon as I do that, I'm out.
As soon as I do that.
Man,
Sign it out.
Oh, you're gonna retire from retiring.
Right?
Go Brett Favre on us. Right?
Brett Favre. I want to do another sport though. Try something totally
MMA?
different. I don't think I'd be very good over there.
No.
No.
No, that's a bad way to go.
Nah, them dudes are
Winter
real.
Olympics. You got time for the next Winter Olympics. You could do that curling.
The curling I think I could do. The curling I think
you
I
need
could
to be
do.
under 6 foot, and you need to have a lot of energy because you're doing that a lot. You might
Well,
be a sweeper.
I think I could do that.
Yeah.
I think I could
Yeah.
curl. The golf, I'm out. I'm just looking at all the sports that I played with my world last year, and I was no good at any of them. So football, no good. Racing, no good.
Really?
Bull riding, no, I wasn't good. Nah, dude, I don't understand the drifting and the lines, and there's a science there that I couldn't really grasp. Bull riding, no good. None of it. The UFC, none of it. None of it. Any good.
If you had to pick one that you could figure out, which one could you figure out?
Oh boy, I guess maybe the racing.
It had to be because
yeah,
half of them are physical, and you can't.
yeah. No, I can't
Not
do
at
any of
this
the
age.
physical. No, nope, out. No.
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh, shout out to Dave.
Shout out Dave Brodzik turning 50.
Yeah.
Our very own
Good
Dave
job.
Brodzik, a.k.a. Warts, a.k.a. Fathead, a.k.a. Worf,
Good
a.k.a.
job.
Hudley Crockett.
Well done.
Way to go, Dave.
He came in like a wrecking ball. I don't know if you knew that.
He did. Pete, I'll play it for you later.
He did.
All right.
He did. Well, great show, guys. Pete, let me remind everybody real quick. Listen, this is the big thing. This is a good sign-off. If you're watching and listening, you had a good time. Man, this is just a fraction of what you're going to get a subscriber. What better time than now, Pete, whether it's a holiday gift or whether it's a gift for yourself, to become a better angler. Right now is the best time.
That's a great point. We didn't talk about this,
Yeah.
but we got gift cards. If you got a buddy, your fishing club buddy,
A husband, an uncle, a
husband,
brother, a wife, a
what-
cousin, an aunt.
They want to fish. It's the best gift. It's the gift of learning. It's $49 for a 6-month subscription to Bass U TV. We produce 2 or more educational pieces of content every week. We got the live
That's
show.
awesome.
You win gifts. We've got great discounts. It's the best place to be if you want to become a better angler. So go over to bassu.tv, get subscribed, pass it around, and And you'll be thankful. It's really going to help you be a better angler. I can promise you, we vetted all of our instructors. They're the greatest anglers in the world, teaching about what they're really good at. Like Oliver Ngy, teaching about how to catch big, giant bass on big, giant swim baits. It's all available on Bass U TV.
And even Oliver Ngy, coming from the content creation side, warns you about just getting your information from anybody.
Yeah,
exactly.
A lot of people out there just want to say that. I mean, I've been around doing it as long as Mike, but I, by no means, feel entitled to be trying to teach people how to do this shit. So,
yeah, we
take
pick
it from
some
people that actually catch them.
We go out of our way to pick some pretty good instructors that know what they're talking about. It's all over there at BassU.tv.
That's right. Brian Carpenter, good show. What do you think, man? Want to thank our guests here. We've got, of course, Oliver Ngy join us. Want to thank Alex and JK. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys
for participating. We thank Pete and Dean. Thank you, man, for making it and
good
running out of
luck
gas.
this year.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
We're all gonna be pulling for you.
Well,
Can't wait.
We have a couple more shows here before the end of the year, don't we, Brian?
We do.
Run it down real quick for
That's
everybody
right.
before we sign off.
We have next week. We have a mystery guest.
Oh, mystery guest.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have not yet decided.
Yeah, I like that.
The week after that, David Swenside. That would be December 14.
Good guest.
And Swenside is gonna bring it.
Yeah.
Guys, the giveaways on that show.
Biggest
If you don't sign up for Bass U, just so you can be a part of that giveaway that week.
Yeah. One of them was $2,500.
Yeah, I think there was a mother.
It's coming.
One of those.
Mother Chaser.
Oh.
Yep.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
Ridiculous. David Swenside, December 14th. And the 21st, Seth Fighter.
Wow. Well, I want to be. Can I be? I want definitely. I want to be for the Swinside and the
No,
Fighter.
you can't be at the Swenside one.
I can't. Okay. Why am I going somewhere?
Because you'll win the damn thing that it's supposed to be for me.
I won't be at that one then.
Nah, whatever.
All right.
You should be at all of them.
I should be at all of them. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool, Pete. What do you think?
Hey, it was great having you, and thanks for everybody for watching. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bass U Live.
And thank you to Ken Duke again.
Thank you, Ken.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Big swim baits.
Bye.
Hold on, I want
Bass fishing. Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
At Bass U TV, shoes are optional.
And I like turtles.
We teach you to enjoy bass fishing.
And that's why you want to check out Bass U TV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bass U TV.
Moment on the water not spent fishing is a moment wasted. That's why Minn Kota and Humminbird have joined forces to bring you the One Boat Network. Products that communicate and integrate to help you take full command of your boat. Born from our commitment to making the most advanced fishing gear even better by making it work together, the One Boat Network will help you find, get to, stay on, and catch more fish. When One Boat Network products talk to each other, they can navigate your boat automatically. They can give you a crystal clear view of what's below with no messy wires. And they can let you lower, raise, and change shallow water anchor modes from anywhere on the boat. But that's just the beginning. We're never done innovating, integrating, and making your boat simpler and easier to control. All so you can make every second on the water count.
Tackle Warehouse is proud to sponsor the FLW Pro Circuit and is the official tackle retailer of FLW, providing proven bass fishing gear as well as the newest and hottest tackle. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service staff can help you every step of the way. And we offer free ground shipping on orders over $50. Tackle Warehouse. Everything for the bass angler at the lowest prices. Guaranteed.
I have to be constantly on the lookout for new techniques to stay on the top of my game.
Giant.
Some have been more successful than others.
Giant.
The finesse fingernail.
Happens every time.
The chain gang.
Broke it off.
The crow's nest.
Never let go.
And don't even get me started on tackle management, especially trying to stop rust and corrosion. Peanut butter.
I could.
Motor oil. Gotta keep the rust off all these baits. WD-40. Keep the rust off. Silica, toothpicks, Q-tips, the list goes on and on. I'm hard on tackle, I fish fast, I need my tackle organized and protected. I can't be worrying about losing baits to rust. And when it comes to tackle management, there's only one solution. Flambeau Tackle Storage Systems with Z-Rust technology. The original anti-rust tackle box. Uncompromised clarity. Renowned durability. The infused anti-rust option that is FDA safe and free of harmful chemicals. The organization options are endless, but there's only one. One box, one anti-corrosion technology, one family-owned, American-made brand, Flambeau Z-Rust Tackle Solutions. Preserve, perform, repeat.